All right, before we get started today, I just want to take a moment to have everyone go to your podcatcher of choice and rate us 5 stars if you can. But otherwise, please, if not, find one friend who loves Survivor as much as you do and plug us. Tell them that if they want a friend or friends to talk about Survivor with them, if we all tell one friend, we grow by double. That's just math. On to the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we tell future Survivor contestants how best to play the game by critiquing current and former players. And on today's episode, it is my pleasure to say that we will be talking about the post-merge of Season 16 of Survivor, Micronesia, better known as fans versus favorites. Not to spoil anything, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and before we get into any of that, I'm Derek Kubicek, your first host, and I'd never seen it. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know anything about it. But I'm not the only one here. I am joined by 2 fabulous co-hosts.
I'm Ryan Stacy, a resident superfan who knows everything there is to know about Survivor, except when the burn book challenge stopped happening, apparently. Because I recently looked up how far those went into Survivor, because we had another one of those this season, spoiler alert, and I was so wrong. But now that I know that, now I know everything there is to know about Survivor.
Oh, sure. We're just going to keep going on. I did message Ryan, so I'm holding him honest. Every time burn book comes up, I message him and say, dang it, Ryan, you lied.
I was way off. To be fair, none of them have been nearly as memorable.
That is fair enough, but it still existed.
Yes. I'm not perfect, but I'm close.
And I'm Josh Wessler, and combining Ryan's terrible Survivor knowledge and Derek's terrible takes on the game, apparently I'm the only actual consultant here who has any credibility left. I last watched this season about 3 years ago, so I'm here more to gauge how memorable it is along the way. And you know what? This season I really wish I would have watched all of the episodes. Now I'm way too lazy to actually be able to do that, but I really remember enjoying this season, especially the post-merge. So highly recommend here.
Which brings us to the point of this podcast is we rewatch it so you don't have to, even though Josh really wanted to. But we recognize there's 40 seasons of Survivor. You probably don't have time to watch all of them. But we're here to tell you which ones are must-watch if you can only watch a few. So before we jump into any spoilers, now that we're done with Survivor Micronesia, fans versus favorites, guys, is this must-watch Survivor?
Yeah. And I'm not going to assume anybody's genders out there in our audience, but this one's for the ladies, and this one's also for the men for a different reason. We all need to watch this season.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, not only is this an entertaining season, but there are many things to learn from it.
Oh, yeah, this is 100% must-watch Survivor. It is not a hot take to hear this as someone's favorite season of Survivor. There are many people with that opinion. It's not surprising at all. I think it is a great season. And this post-merge, again, no spoilers yet. We'll get to that soon. But I think Survivor Micronesia might have the greatest 5-episode run in the history of Survivor. The 5 non-finale episodes of the post-merge, that is an elite run of episodes. The finale, less so. But those 5 episodes are just wonderful. So go watch Survivor Micronesia if you haven't seen it. But here's the thing. It's fans versus favorites. A lot of returners. I personally would recommend that you watch all the seasons with these returning players were on originally, just so you have a little bit more context for the game. That's the best way to enjoy this season. So go watch seasons 7, 9, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Do it.
Yeah. Maximum enjoyment. So, spoiler alert from here on out. Get out of here. Go watch this and then come back. All right? Spoilers. 3.
I'll knock the phone.
2.
Hit that pause button.
1.
You missed your chance.
And then we get to the one little bummer of the season is that Parvati wins.
Kinda, yeah. So I want to just expand on what I said a second ago. This is the most deadly alliance that I've ever seen in Survivor. Mm-hmm. And it is a perfect example of why it is perfectly okay to be scared of a women's alliance. Mm-hmm. So, ladies out there, you get to watch an absolutely dominating performance.
It's a slaughter.
It is, and literal lead to slaughter, it feels like. I mean, I guess not literal, but as figuratively and metaphorically lead to slaughter as you can do, it got done. Now, pure enjoyment factor, you'll love this. Guys, this is why you need to be wary. I'm not saying to completely overdo it and, draw undeserved assumptions, but this is the most successful alliance I've ever seen. I know I have 10 seasons to go, but wow. You need to watch this for many, many reasons. Everybody.
Yeah, the Black Widow Brigade is here. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So every guy who ever plays Survivor, just have this in the back of your mind. Just remember, you don't want to be like the guys in Micronesia.
Yeah. Parvati says it best. We're like the Black Widow Brigade. We spin the guys around, and then we devour them. Legendary confessional. That's right up there with Boston Rob's Season 4 confessional, in my opinion. I actually think it might top it. It's a small, succinct snippet that if you watched that, you would know exactly how this post-merge played out. I don't think I've ever seen a better executive summary. That is the thesis statement of the post-merge. So I loved this.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I even need to mention how memorable the season really is due to that. But outside of the alliances, how many good and bad moves it really leads off of it too. You wouldn't really think that there's that many that would show up that really just stick with you years later, but they all do.
And not just the one that Survivor will never let you forget.
Yeah, true. I think there is one non-idol play that it kind of just like fades away basically with Ozzy. Like that's the least memorable out of all of them, like blindside wise. And that's just because there's so many that are going on.
Yeah, it's because it's not the only time that happens in this season, in this post-merge.
Yeah, it's a legendary run of episodes. It really is. Some iconic moments. Let's do a quick refresher of the cast. We have 10 people left. We have 6 favorites. Amanda Kimmel returning from Survivor China. Suri Fields returning from Survivor Panama. Liza Orleans returning from Survivor Vanuatu. James Clement returning from Survivor China. Ozzy Luth returning from Survivor Cook Islands, and Parvati Shallow returning from Survivor Cook Islands. We also have 4 fans left in the game. 4 of them made it. Good for them. We have Alexis Jones, a motivational speaker from Beverly Hills. We have Eric Reichenbach, an ice cream scooper from Michigan. Jason Siska, a gymnastics coach from Illinois. And Natalie Bolton, a personal trainer from West Hollywood, California. Those are our 10 people left in the game. Our winner picks got devastated in the pre-merge. Some of us may have lost multiple winner picks in the pre-merge. But here's where we're at. Derek, you have Parvati.
Yes.
Congrats.
Yes.
Josh, you have Suri.
Yes, I do.
Rip indeed. And I, unfortunately, have Ozzy. And again, I make my winner picks based on what I did when I was a kid when I watched this for the first time.
You got to keep plugging that.
Got to keep plugging that to save my reputation. Because 8th grade me was an idiot. All right, you guys ready to jump into these episodes?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Episode 7, I'm in such a hot pickle. Eliza and Jason have an alliance because they both annoy people. All right.
That works.
Maybe don't do that. You might have more alliances.
Yeah, and I don't want to say, like, push Eliza on the outs, but maybe don't be so publicly aligned with her because she does seem to be kind of a poison touch sort of thing. Like, if you're associated with Eliza, people don't want to be associated with you. And I don't know what caused that other than, I mean, maybe just her talking a lot. I don't know, but Jason, probably don't be so public about it.
I think almost every Survivor Eliza's ever played with has thought she was annoying to some extent. So you
probably a reason for
draw
it.
your own conclusions. But Jason tells Eliza he is the idol. Jason, you're dumb. Jason, no, you don't.
You do not have the idol.
It's a bleeping stick.
It is a stick.
Meanwhile, on Malakal, Eric swears allegiance to Ozzy, and they make an alliance. To the United States of Ozzy, Eric has sworn his allegiance. So we'll see how that goes for them. But I like this duo together. We talked about this a little bit last time. They're a good match for each other.
Yeah, it works. I think that for Eric, you run a little bit of a risk of seeming desperate to Ozzy, but I mean, at the same time, we mentioned that there's only 4 fans left, so do what you got to do.
He is desperate.
And exactly.
Yeah, and we did talk about this before. I don't know if I worded it exactly like this, but Ozzy's kind of a prideful guy, or he plays the game with a lot of pride, a lot of gusto. I feel like he would love to have his own personal little understudy. And
Mini-me.
A mini-me. And Eric is like, you know what? That can be me. And as far as anyone knows, Ozzy's still in good with the other favorites. So that at least gives you a leg up on the other fans that are still out there, at least as far as you know. So yeah, this is a good match for Eric right now. It's an okay match for Ozzy.
So we get to the merge. That night, Alexis and Ozzy are cuddling. Guess who doesn't like this? Amanda.
What? No.
Yeah, Amanda now wants Alexis out of the game. Guys, don't be cuddling with everybody on Survivor.
Or don't be upset when other people are cuddling with everybody on Survivor. I mean, we obviously understand that there was a little bit more going on emotionally between Ozzy and Amanda, but this is also why showmances are bad. We're here to tell you how to win the $1 million, not how to find love. If you're looking for that, go listen to a Bachelor or Bachelorette podcast. Oh, wait, actually, you probably have better odds listening to a Survivor podcast.
Yeah, you might actually better luck listening to us. Eliza tries to scheme with Parvati, who's fairly dismissive of her. Now, here's something I want to talk about throughout the rest of the podcast. Parvati's going to win this thing. I don't like it. I would not. I don't think I would have voted for Parvati. I don't fully understand why she won as opposed to Amanda. And so I want to point out, some people might get on my case for it maybe because, Parvati is Mount Rushmore Survivor legend. There's some flaws, there's some big flaws, or maybe not total flaws, but some things in her game I don't really like, and I want to point those out along the way. I want to cite my sources a little bit here. So this is one of them. She's fairly dismissive of Eliza. But why? You don't have to be legit planning stuff with her, but, don't be just like, who knows? I don't know. I really don't know what's happening.
Right, and to be fair, we've talked about how in the pre-merge, don't go out of your way to do jury management for people that aren't going to be on the jury. So, get with your alliance, stick with those people, and then, you don't have to worry about making other people feel good, because they are not going to give you the $1 million. But jury management started yesterday. Mm-hmm. I mean, entertain the ideas, especially when you're off alone. As long as you're not throwing out names and giving Eliza ammo, and you're just nodding your head and, giving a fist bump every now and again, the old Boston Rob, great, awesome. And then if Eliza goes blabbing, you can be like, she was talking to me about it. I'm just gonna listen, but I'm not actually doing it. If your alliance isn't gonna trust you over that, then they're not gonna trust you over anything anyway. Your bonds aren't good enough.
If you don't keep a bond with somebody, they'll come after you. And Eliza, Parvati's lucky Eliza had nowhere to go. But it very easily could have been a different story.
Right.
And we can get into who the right choice at the end was later on. But first of all, completely agree. But it's interesting, because didn't Eliza vote for Parvati still?
Eliza voted for Parvati at the end.
Which amazes me.
Yep, I have questions.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. But, yeah, there's no reason to be doing this. And I would agree that Parvati definitely does have flaws throughout the entire game, pre-merge and post-merge, that you could see come up.
Parvati ends up telling Amanda, hey, I have an alliance with you, me, and now I brought in Alexis and Natalie. Oh no, we're in two different alliances. We could be in trouble. And Amanda's mad. Both of these reactions don't make any sense to me. Great, you have a lot of options. Amanda, why are you mad? You have more options.
Yeah, and this can get you in a tough spot if you're not careful, but I don't really... this conversation really confused me.
I had an aneurysm watching it, I'm pretty sure.
Like you said, more options, the better, unless you completely mishandle it. Then it can result in some really bad things, but especially in a merge episode when you don't want to be the one on the outs. That's fine with me.
And the way that I remember this conversation, Amanda was good in the moment with Parvati, and then complained to the camera saying, listen, I kind of lost some lateral movement in this game now, because I'm with people that I haven't played with, that I have not talked to. I don't know Alexis, I don't know Natalie, and I know enough about Parvati to know that she is schemy. Now she's got options. How does this benefit me? But to Parvati, she just kind of nodded and said yes, which I think is an okay move, not the best.
Yeah, because the best move is to realize, Amanda, you just got an invite to the club thanks to your friend Parvati.
Right.
Now make your own alliances.
Right.
Parvati's going to be a lot closer to Alexis and Natalie than Amanda is throughout the rest of the game.
Yes.
And that is a hole in Amanda's game.
Yes. Especially because of this Ozzy thing. I think that might have had something to do with this early merge play.
Could have. Immunity challenge is the one where you have to basically simulate drowning. You're under some bars and the tide is rising. I love this challenge. I think I would destroy it.
We all remember Janu from Season 10.
Yep, immediately, yeah. But Jason's going to win this one. Beat Ozzy in a challenge.
In a water challenge.
Ozzy's not going to win a single individual immunity this season. Crazy.
I mean, he doesn't have a lot to do, but
he only has two, but he doesn't win one.
Character development. He's playing his game differently this time, Ryan.
And he is pissed that he didn't win this one.
Yeah, because it was down to him and Jason.
Yeah. He's a prideful guy, as stated.
So Elijah's the target, but it's okay because Jason's got the idol and he's going to give it to her
to save his teammate.
So if he puts it in Eliza's bag, and Eliza, goes to check it out, it's a stick. It's an effing stick. So she like storms down to the beach to confront him because she thinks Jason's playing her. Like he can't really expect me to believe this is the idol. No, Jason believes it's the idol, and she's like, "Oh, he's just that dumb."
He's just that dumb.
So we go to travel council. Eliza plays the stick.
The effing stick.
It's not an idol. And she says, and I'm bringing this up especially because Derek's got words, apparently. But Eliza, this is before the votes have been cast. Eliza plays the idol. Doesn't work. Before they're read, Eliza's like, okay, that was not the idol. Ozzy must have it because Jason gave that one to me. So Ozzy must have it. I think she's trying to save face so she didn't look as dumb by playing a stick. I can respect that. Also, she's not out of the game yet. She could still play even though she's lost the game. You know. Derek, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. So I think in a recent podcast, I don't know if it was China. I don't know.
It was China.
It was China. I said, I wonder if anyone ever outs anyone else's game on their way out the door, just out of spite. And then, maybe I think we had a conversation. Does production prohibit that? Where like if you're gone, you're gone. You can't talk anymore. You got to silently leave. Ryan is a little bit right in our discussion in saying that Jeff had not read the votes yet, but the votes had been cast. There's no super idols in play, which I guess people wouldn't technically know that. But Eliza goes and outs that Ozzy very, 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 very likely has an idol. And I felt a little bit gross, honestly. And I think, and I've been trying to reconcile this feeling a little bit, because Survivor doesn't owe you anything. You don't owe anyone anything in Survivor. You don't owe it to be a good sport. You don't owe anything. But we always say that at Final Tribal Council, you have to own up. You have to try and be honest. You have to just, it's your game, it's yours, you have it. And that's kind of where the good sportsmanship comes into play. This is all a game. And this kind of felt like someone just got checkmated and they flipped the board on their way out. And I'm sorry, it just struck a chord with me and I didn't like it.
I have a theory. My theory is you don't like Eliza.
See, and that's not even it, because everyone has always told me, and like Eliza, if for some reason you ever hear this, I'm on record now, everyone has said that Eliza's pretty annoying to watch, and I haven't ever really felt that. I get why other people don't like her, but I haven't gotten that sense that she's super annoying. I had
to check the tape. I felt like you said differently in our Vanuatu podcast.
They might have done a supercut with her at some point, but I think I also remember saying in our Vanuatu podcast she was not as bad as everyone made it out to be. I think I said the same thing about PG in season 15 as well.
Well, the only person who really said PG was annoying is me.
Yeah. But I feel like she's got this bad rep, but just this, it just felt smarmy to me. I didn't like it. I feel like
maybe I can relate. I want to tell a story. This is another one of my chief loves in life beyond Survivor is Mario Party.
Yes.
Once upon a time, and the most surprisingly important Mario Party game in my life, I was in dead last with one turn to go. I had 1 star. My good friend Dan had 12. My good friend Nick had 11. So because Dan was being really cocky and I was just annoyed with him, I purposely got into a duel with Nick, lost on purpose, gave Nick a star. Nick won the game. So I felt like that move was very similar to Eliza. Like, I have no chance. I'm in garbage time. There's nothing I can do to win this game, so I'm just going to spite somebody I don't like. I respect it. So Eliza, I think I see this move. Eliza's move is very similar to what I did that Mario Party game. So damn it, I respect it.
I don't respect it. I count it as valid. I'm not saying that Eliza should have been like exempt from winning prize money or anything. It just felt off to me, and I didn't like it. And Josh, you watched this episode, so maybe you can chime in too.
I guess I won't go on too long about it, but I feel like I land a little bit in the middle where I'm completely fine with her saying something right here. I think it was more the way that she did it. It was more it felt like she was trying to save face a little bit with it, but she did it in a way that came off really like she was just kind of like spazzing a little bit, where she was outed, even though it was the right move to play the stick, because why not?
Yeah, she said that, by the way.
And then she kind of freaked out a little bit and is like, that means Ozzy has the idol, blah, blah, blah. And then like Ozzy's like, well, yeah, no crap. Like, obviously I have it. So I think it was just more the way that she did it. I would have liked her to do it with a little bit more class, I think, of just being like, oh yeah, well, looks like Ozzy really did have it the entire time, when instead she kind of just flipped out a little bit more.
I think you just don't like Eliza.
Oh no, I absolutely don't. I think that she's very annoying, so that's why I'm critiquing her without going over the top with it. I'm saying I'm completely fine with it. It's just you could have done a better job vocalizing it, but I think that she could do a better job vocalizing basically all of her points.
8 votes for Eliza, 2 votes for Ozzy. This is the right move.
Yeah, it's the right move.
Josh, who did you have for best player of the episode?
I had Suri for this. We didn't really talk about her that much, but at least on screen, she did a really good job just rejoining everyone and getting back into the group. We talked a little bit about how Amanda didn't do as great of a job with that, especially since we had a tribe swap that we're just kind of getting back together from. And she did a really good job with Amanda, because Amanda, after that conversation with Parvati, went to Suri to kind of vent a little bit more with it. And I thought she handled it very well.
Yeah, I landed on Suri as well. I guess the big one for me is that even though it seems like Parvati was one of the driving forces behind the Eliza vote, I didn't like the way that Parvati handled her interactions with Eliza. And I also didn't really like the fact that Parvati kind of just confronted Amanda with this idea. She could have approached it more delicately, and whether she likes it or not, she kind of fractured that, at least seemingly, with Amanda just a little bit, where Amanda has to be more wary. So those are a couple negatives that kind of offset the positives. And I was talking in the pre-merge about how Suri was playing this really rigid, unyielding game, but for this one, she was like, you know what? We're just going to go with the flow. We're going to rejoin a majority. We're going to make it simple, and we're going to get rid of Eliza today. And that is the kind of game that I want to see from Suri, something more adaptable, something more fluid. So I landed on Suri.
I went with Eric, because I like the alliance he formed with Ozzy. But in the merge episode, usually I say, hey, just whoever it is, as long as it's not you, go for it. But ideally, I think you want to get rid of the person you have no relationship with. So someone you've never spent any time with in the game. The only person on the board who spent 0 time with Eliza on this game is Eric. So I think this benefits him the most, just because it takes a possible pawn for other people off the board, but doesn't remove anything for him. Whereas everyone else has spent time with her. So I think Eric is my best.
Yeah, and I thought about Eric, and the reason I didn't put it is that I feel that as far as the fans go, Alexis and Natalie are both in a better position as a result of the merge than he is. Even though he's done all he can do, and from his perception he's doing well, he's not actually. So that was kind of what knocked it down for me a little bit, but I respect the pick.
I do really like the point, though, just because I don't think it's been mentioned I think it's been mentioned before, but it not very often that about the previous relationships, and that's who you should ideally target. Obviously, it can't just work perfectly like that, but having that be the person to go with is definitely a good point to make.
Worst player, Josh, you got?
I had Amanda, mostly just because of the way that she handled the 2 tribes rejoining, especially the interaction with Parvati. Yeah, she didn't really say anything negative directly to her, but I think that she is really starting to have an attitude of like, oh man, I don't know if Parvati is in my best interest, or that she's doing what's best for my game, which is good to be thinking about, but it seems like it's in a way that she's just really wavering at this point, which this is not a good time to do that.
Yeah, I have Ozzy. I think first and foremost, he's showing that he's a prideful player. I think snuggling up with Alexis when he's got that kind of going with Amanda, like having one showmance is bad enough. Having a perceived second one is even worse. On top of all of this, he gets outed for having an idol, but granted, a lot of that damage was already done in a prior episode, but now it's confirmed. He confirms it at Tribal Council. Last but not least, he's not viewing this materializing women's alliance like, yes, Eliza got voted out, but Eliza was also a potential number, and you're running out of opportunities to shatter the inevitable. And that goes for everyone that's not in the Black Widow Brigade, but just to add to Ozzy's negativeness.
Yeah, I agree with everything Derek just said. It's Ozzy. And then as a point to step on your opinion, Josh, well, I do agree Amanda's mindset is wrong. Everything she did was in confessional,
Sure.
which is fine.
Yeah, on top of that, going to the Ozzy situation, that definitely was not good, but it was another confessional, so it's not actually like in the game, but Amanda didn't really react the best to that either.
Oh, that's true. That's definitely true.
It's just piling one on top of another.
But her negative reactions were all confessional.
True.
Right. So. She did not grab Alexis by the hair and yeet her into the ocean.
Right. Which would have been fun, but...
That would have been great for TV.
I was going to give a dishonorable mention to Parvati just because of the overconfidence that she's displaying. We talked about it a little bit with Eliza, but especially once you're going into the merge, we've seen it a bunch where people just are really confident in their position, and then they just kind of coast after the merge. So I'd be really careful if I was her about getting too comfortable there.
Yeah, don't get cocky. Episode 10, I Promise. So James works a lot in camp, as he does, makes a lot of noise while people are trying to sleep. Parvati tells him to stop and basically just get all pissy with each other. Again, this is another knock against Parvati, because any Survivor player worth their salt knows to let the annoying person be annoying. So Parvati should know, let James continue to be obnoxious. If you also get annoyed with him, and great, it betters your game. Oh no, you're going to lose a little bit of sleep. Don't be the person to be the person to call out somebody. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, we saw this in Survivor China. We saw this in Survivor Cook Islands. We've seen this all over the place. I think we saw it in Palau. Don't be the person to start stuff and call other people out. It just doesn't work out. Let them dig their own grave, especially if their occupation is a gravedigger.
Yeah. Ozzy gets to go on reward. Doesn't really matter, but when he gets back to camp, he talks about how great the food was. A lot. Rookie mistake. And yet,
Even though he's not a rookie.
he acts like it.
And I don't remember if it was Sari who was like, oh, Amanda and Parvati, they were talking about how they were downplaying the reward, and then Ozzy's going into great detail about how the lobster was prepared. How many times do we have to go through this, guys? Don't do this.
Yeah, I don't know. So we get the classic hand attached to a bucket of water immunity challenge. You pull down your hand, you pull down the bucket. I love this challenge.
This is the one where they keep changing the rules on it. But as of right now, you can use one arm to support the other arm. So this is going to go on for a long time.
So Jeff has temptations, which always makes it fun. Who wants to step down for some food?
I love temptations.
Sari, Eric, and Ozzy all step down for food. Oh, Ozzy, what have you just done?
Not peanut butter, but chocolate.
I think it was donuts.
It was chocolate donuts.
And James has this incredible line. He goes, "What in the Nickelodeon is going on here?"
What does that even mean?
So, okay, it's because the water is, colored.
Oh,
so, if you
slime.
had, if you had, the green band on, the green water came down, yellow band, the yellow water came down. So when the first person goes out, he's like, what in the Nickelodeon? It's so funny.
He's got that Louisiana accent. Just the here. I can't quite do it, but it's glorious.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
This is, part of what makes James so amazing and so fun to listen to is his cadence and his accent. He's got a soothing voice. I just want to smile when he's smiling, and I want to laugh when he's laughing.
Yeah, he's fun. It all comes down to Jason and Parvati. Jason, the only person who was not in on the vote last time. Let me reiterate that, okay? So Jeff has a feast of food brought out, and he says, hey, whoever steps down, you get it, and everyone else who stepped down already gets this food.
Didn't they already get temptations?
They all not all of them got food, but a lot of them did.
Well, and I think Natalie and Alexis both fell out right before Jeff actually offered a temptation, and Natalie just
it was Alexis. Alexis was pissed.
Alexis just huffed about it, and he's like, "You can sulk all you want," as she walks by him and just sits dejected on the bench.
But hey, if one of you guys steps down, you all get food, and one other person gets immunity. Jason's like, okay, I'll do it if I get a guarantee from everyone I won't be voted out. One by one, every single person verbally says, I guarantee I will not vote out Jason. Several of them have their fingers crossed behind their backs. Jason steps down. Parvati gets immunity. Don't do this. If you're the one person who didn't vote correctly in the last episode, don't step down for food.
I would even like to say that the first vote after the merge, not the merge vote, but the very next one, you still don't really know how everything's going to line out. So I would say just in general for the very next vote, I wouldn't, no matter how safe I felt, I would not do any sort of temptation here. Just because things can change so quickly after everyone rejoins that you don't really know.
All right, I want to take I don't want to stand on a contrarian point, but I would like to raise it for the purposes of this podcast. He shouldn't have stepped down.
Right.
That's the bad move. But Jason loses this game against almost everybody left right now.
Yeah, no, I will say everybody.
Sure. So
Jason cannot win.
So he is dead last. I don't want to say he cannot win. He needs to make bold moves. Now, stepping down and putting your trust in a bunch of people who you have no reason to trust is something that if you make it to Final Tribal Council, let's say that he does it this time and then he wins immunity out all the way to the end. And they're like, oh, you just immunity'd your way all the way to the end. You can be like, except for that one time where you could have voted me out and you didn't. So for the group as a whole, if I'm looking at it from that perspective, he shouldn't have stepped off because he's very likely going next.
There's not zero logic to the move.
And I will say, in all of his confessionals, he's like, I very well understand that this might be my demise. I very well get that I might be going home tonight. That tells me that, I mean, for all the flack that we're going to give Jason eventually, he knows that he has to shoot for the stars or just end up in the dark void of space.
I'm not going to give him worst player of the episode.
Yeah, so I just wanted to raise that point that, you know what, we're here to tell you how to win the million, and if you're Jason, you need to Tony your way to the end. And so I don't hate the move for Jason.
Step 1, don't be Jason.
Yeah, I won't support it. I get that you aren't either. You preface your point with it.
You need to get to Final Tribal Council to win.
Again, mostly piggybacking off of my last temptation point that this is still right after the merge, so 3 days can be a lot of time, and it depends on how confident he is in himself. If he thinks he can go for a lot longer, then I would say stick it out, because a lot can happen in 3 days, alliance-wise.
Sure. It's not the worst move of the season.
No.
What?
It's not Jason's worst move.
I was going to say, it's not Jason's worst move of the season.
So Suri decides to make a move because Ozzy has an idol, and he's Ozzy. He's got tied for the record of the most individual immunity challenge wins of all time. So she's going to get Jason, Alexis, Natalie, and Parvati on board, and they're going to take out Ozzy instead of Jason. And this way, none of them are breaking their guarantee. Tribal Council, 5 votes for Ozzy, 4 votes for Jason. Ozzy does not play the idol. Incredible move. Awesome move. I love it. It's great.
The idol pocket blindside is one of Derek's favorite things.
So, I'm not going to pretend Ozzy was like the biggest jury threat to win. I always rank, after the first merge episode, I always rank all the players from best to worst. Now I can go ahead and go down to it. Who would win in like matchups against everybody? I have Alexis at the top of the list. She would beat everybody. And here's my order. Alexis, Natalie, Parvati, Amanda, Suri, Eric, Ozzy, James, Jason. Ozzy's very low on that list, but he's a physical threat. He can keep you out of the finals, and he's got an idol, which is, always try and flush that if you can, unless it's in your ally's pocket, maybe. So I think this was an awesome move. Ozzy had to go.
It was a great move. It's really hard to fault Ozzy just because when do you play it? If you're confident in your alliance, I see the reasoning to hold on to it. But at the same time, when you're as big of a threat as you are, especially as a returner, and everyone knows your game, maybe the first opportunity after a merge, you play it when you're not safe.
I think if you're Ozzy...
It's so tough. Because everyone knows you have an idol, too. So they might know that you're going to play it.
Play it and find another one.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's my one criticism for Ozzy. I think once everyone knows you have an idol, it's not really an advantage anymore. You should probably just play it next time no matter what. And I think in modern Survivor, that's almost an unspoken rule. The second you get an advantage and people know it, you got to play it. So he should have played it, in my opinion, but he also kind of told half the people that he had it already, so he was already walking on thin ice.
Here's what Ozzy should have done. Either played it, because everyone knows, or just announce to everybody, hey, I'm just, all day long, just say, I'm playing it tonight, everyone knows I got it, I'm just going to get rid of it, playing it tonight. Then don't do it, gamble a little bit, and then play it next time.
That would have been the ideal move because I genuinely believe that the favorites would have just gone with Jason, the safe vote at that point.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they?
So he had options, didn't take either one, goes out of the game.
Yeah.
But we're going to see Ozzy play again. Do we want to see it?
Sure. It's fine. We haven't had any 3-time returners yet. If we're going to start having 3rd-time players, I would put Ozzy on that short list because you need to build out 18 people or 16 people if you're going to do, like, for example, all 3rd-time players. I'd put Ozzy on that list. I don't know if I would put him on the list over other people who have played once that I would like to see again. Even on this season, I think I would rather see a Tracy or something. So, mixed feelings. I would be okay with it.
Yeah, I think that's where I said too. More just being okay with it. There's nothing from his game that changed my mind about him compared to the first time. But he is really fun to watch, even if it's just looking at like challenges. He's pretty much confirmed at this point that you're not going to get great strategic play from him. So don't have that as an expectation of something that will evolve. But as far as just kind of being, exactly what you'd expect, sure.
I think he's entertaining. We're going to get some half-baked ideas from him, and even some fully-baked ideas. No, half-baked. The fake idol stick was great.
True.
It shouldn't have worked, but it did. He's an incredibly flawed player. He makes good TV. That type of person I'm usually good with bringing back. I'm okay with bringing back Ozzy. Let's do it. So for best player of the episode, I had Suri because she organized the Ozzy vote.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add on to that is if you look at the people who that might blow back on, it's going to blow back least on Cirie, because Ozzy knows darn well that in their original alliance of 5, Cirie was 5th. No one ever pretended otherwise. And also, Ozzy going home is another good thing for Cirie, who is a part of the larger and ever-hardening women's alliance, the Black Widow Brigade. So, it's Cirie.
Worst player, I had James, because he really annoyed Parvati, Alexis, and Natalie, and he ended up being on the wrong side of the vote.
So I actually went slightly different. I said Amanda, because she was left out of the vote, even though it was organized by her closest ally, Parvati. Now, this is kind of the showmance that she made a mistake about way earlier in the season, finally rearing its head. This is what happens. You get left out of the vote when people go to blindside and make these big moves. Amanda's going to get to the end of the game and not have this rung on her belt. Now, granted, that probably earns her a jury vote. It's going to earn her Ozzy's vote to be left out, but in the context of the game in that moment, the fact that you weren't told means that your alliance does not trust you enough to bring you into the know. So I went with Amanda.
I'm kind of surprised that neither of you said anything about Parvati here, because she's the one that reacted at camp about James being disruptive, and then based on where they're at in the game, it's a really great move for Cirie, but I feel like it's a little more questionable for Parvati. It's a move that needs to be made for her, obviously, but isn't necessarily the move that needs to be made for her right now.
Yeah, it's definitely worse for hers than Cirie. I'm overall fine with it because it's got to happen. And he could go on an immunity run, and he has an idol. He's gonna be pissed. People are gonna get pissed.
Yeah.
So I think Ozzy's gonna get voted out, and he'll be angry regardless. I think the fact that now Parvati, Cirie, and them didn't vote for Jason means that they might have actually salvaged a jury vote down the line because they kept their promise to him and kept him long enough. So if you lose one with Ozzy, you may be gaining one with Jason, so it kind of offset, which is why I landed on Amanda on the outside of the vote.
Okay.
Now, Josh, you still got to tiebreak it. Because Josh does not watch every episode. He watches the premiere, merge episode, and the finale. So for any episode he does not watch, he is the tiebreaker between Derek and I, and we have to give our best argument we can.
I'm going to side with Ryan here and add on a little bit that now that Ozzy is out, you are the lone remaining meat shield.
Okay. So I lose my winner pick again. What is that, the third time?
Yeah, I think so.
Penner, Ozzy, yep. In 8th grade, he was dumb because he switched to James.
We're having fun.
He was so dumb.
Look at the fun we're having.
I would have switched to Cirie had I got to make my pick.
Join the club, man.
I would have been on Team Cirie, but no, I switched to James like a dum-dum. So we'll see how that goes for me. Not well.
Man, my winner pick looking good right now, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, great episode for Cirie. Episode 11, I'm ruthless and have a smile on my face. So James has a swollen and infected-looking finger. Well, that won't come into play at all.
Nope. That will never be talked about again.
So Parvati and James have a talk, basically, about the betrayal and all that, and Parvati admits she's planning on going in with the girls. She could have tried to salvage something here and be like, I just didn't trust Ozzy, and I didn't know if you would tell him I still want to work with you, and use that as a possible advantage, because James could very well go and try and take you out now that he knows you have no interest in working with him. Granted, James not going to be able to do that because he's not very good at Survivor, and he just doesn't have the numbers. But still, try and salvage something, and don't fess up to all of your plans, Parvati.
Yeah, that's really tough, just because maybe by being a little bit more transparent, maybe you can salvage the jury vote side of it. But I mean, I didn't watch the episode, so I didn't know the way it came across, but obviously it didn't come across the greatest.
And I put this more on James than I do on Parvati, for example, because I don't think James would have been appeased by anything Parvati said. And this is a flaw in James's game, in his social game, that I think you don't see maybe as much in China. But he's someone that he wants to hear things a very specific way. He even brings back the old catchphrase about not biting the apple. He says it to Parvati's face, like, you had to go and bite that apple. You couldn't resist, could you? So it shows some rigidity in James's game. And I understand that Parvati could have done a better job handling it, but sometimes when you're dealing with someone who's operating on emotion, there's not a lot you can do. So while I agree Parvati could have done a better job at managing this, I want to ding James more for this than Parvati. Because ultimately, he should be the one mending bonds.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But, I mean, I expect more of somebody who is a Survivor winner than
She's not a Survivor winner yet.
She has the skill to be a Survivor winner. James, I don't know if he's got it. James is not very good at Survivor. Parvati is.
Hey, we're here to consult everybody, and James did the bigger no-no, but yes, we should expect more from Parvati in this situation.
On the flip side, Parvati and Suri try to patch things up with Amanda, and Amanda plays it very cool, even though she feels burned. She's like, no, it's all good.
And this is great.
That's great. That's what we want to see.
This is skillful Survivor.
Survivor auction. Natalie ends up accidentally covered item, buys some bat soup, and James is like, oh, I'll eat it.
More bat soup. Because they had this at the merge, too.
Suri ends up getting some chocolate cake, and Eric is like, hey, I'll give you $20 or $40 or whatever to lick off the chocolate from your fingers. And Suri agrees.
Turns out to be a good move because the auction ends after the cake.
But Natalie, she gets to send someone to exile and takes all their money, and she sends Jason. Lol, Jason. He gets dunked on so hard in this episode, and it's fun. I love watching Jason get dunked on.
I think that Natalie should have sent somebody in her alliance to exile because she made a point to ask Jeff, is there an idol back in play because Ozzy's got voted out?
Oh, good point.
And Jeff says, yes, an idol is back in play. And she knowingly sends Jason out to exile. I think this is a horrible move.
Actually, yeah, it's a horrible move. It's just funny.
It's funny for him to get dunked on, but as consultants...
Yes, I forgot about the idol.
Yeah,
so
the right move is probably to send Alexis.
I'd say Alexis. Jason finds the idol. Womp, womp.
Well, you asked for this.
Yeah, you done goof, Natalie.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
If only there's something you can do about it.
We get the first mention of the Black Widow Brigade. It's here. The Avengers have formed.
It's canon now.
It's happening. They're going to take out Jason next. At the immunity challenge, Natalie kind of like whispers to Jason, like, hey, I sent you for a reason. We need to take out James next. You can't let James win immunity. And Jason's like, yeah, I kind of figured you sent me for a reason. Jason, you're so dumb.
I mean, if there's... Okay, ignoring the fact that, like, if she's playing Jason here, but, like, if that actually is your intention, then there you go. There's a reason to send him to exile.
Hey, the best kind of lie is the one that could be the truth.
Yep.
And if you're Jason, again, we're going to dunk on Jason a lot because of the way things actually were, but we have to remember from his perspective, he is still shooting for the moon on a homemade rocket with no spacesuit. Like, he needs to get there somehow. So, like, I don't hate that he's swinging for the fences. We're going to mix analogies all day long because I don't care. But you got to be more wary than this. You have an idol in your pocket.
Yep. He's just a little too trusting.
Yes.
Jason. Eric wins immunity on his birthday, so that's nice.
Good for him. Ice cream for everyone.
Happy 22nd.
Ice cream for everyone. That's great. Natalie searches Jason's bag and finds the idol and shows everyone, including James, who's just right there.
And he does not like this.
Yes, but, James, use that to your advantage somehow. And why would you show the idol off in front of James? Just check it and then casually tell everyone in your alliance. Be a little subtle. Come on. Sneaky. Sneaky is the name of the game. So the girls, they all go to work, and they just make Jason super comfortable. You're just schmoozing up to Jason.
Yeah, like he's sitting with them on the beach, just soaking in the sun, and they're just talking about life.
He's one of the girls. It's fun.
They're side-eyeing him, by the way, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is good editing.
Amanda and James, they kind of talk through their options. And Amanda has kind of like gotten herself back into she's part of the Black Widow Brigade. It is Parvati, Suri, Amanda, Natalie, Alexis. She's in it. But she has some other options. They could grab Eric and Jason and try and make a move using the idol. We're at the final 8. They have that option. And you could break up Alexis and Natalie and get Parvati and Suri away from them. Have a little bit more power. Because we're going to see later on, when the chips are down, Amanda's the bottom of the Black Widow Brigade. Only through the grace of an idol is she going to be saved. So maybe Amanda should have made a move here. It ends up being 4 votes for Jason, 3 votes for James, 1 vote for Parvati. No idol is played. Jason goes out of the game with an idol in his pocket.
This is so hard. Because I don't know if I would have done anything different with him. Like, if I was in that exact situation and like Derek said, like, you're shooting for the moon, you need to just put your trust in people. Otherwise, you're going to be, the next one out in the very next vote? What's the difference in between now and 3 days from now?
So the only possibility on the board, and I took a note on this, and Ryan actually already touched on it. Jason, James, Eric, and Amanda could have gotten together here and used the idol in order to like cobble together a group of 4, take out one of the Black Widow Brigade, and maybe turn fortunes on its head a little bit.
And I think Alexis would have been the right move because I think she beats everyone else at the end. She has no enemies.
And Alexis would have been a fine move. I don't even know who they would have targeted, but I do think that like James has no reason to want Alexis around.
Amanda hates Alexis.
And then Eric knows that he's kind of on the outside of everybody. So, like, anything that puts him into a majority, he should be all for. So that's the only thing different that Jason could have tried to leverage is use the Seidel as a big move.
Yeah, I guess be a little more active rather than like, hey, people are coming to me, so I'm fine.
And also, he told Natalie that he has the idol as well.
The Black Widow Brigade played him so well, especially Natalie. I have some things to say about Natalie. She played very well, but she discarded a tool, and that works on multiple levels. Having Jason in your pocket is awesome because you beat Jason every time. Everyone beats Jason. Keeping him around, not a bad thing. Also, he thinks you're allies. Why not make that true? He's unlikable. He's got an idol. You can use that. Why not take this guy to the end?
You know, and one angle to think about, though, is if Jason makes it to the end, Ozzy might be too pissed at whatever girl's sitting next to him. Eliza, Jason was his only ally. So all of a sudden, like, Jason's got 2 votes on a jury with 2 people. So, like, I can see why they're like, okay, by the end, you know, if he wins enough immunities, maybe James respects the fact that the ladies can't get him out. So, like, I understand that Jason has a tough road to the end, but he does have a resume that he can build on the way there. I don't know if it'd be enough to win, but I see why they would want to target him.
So, Derek, who do you have for best player?
I did just end up with Natalie. I know that she could have played it better. I know that, yes, she had Jason in her pocket and she could have used that to her advantage. But ultimately, she played him like a fiddle and did exactly what she wanted. And she's in the Black Widow Brigade. She's in a good spot in the Black Widow Brigade. She's nested right in the middle. I would put her at number 3 no matter how you turn this thing on its head. And I love where she's at.
I give it to Cherie because she pulled Amanda back in. She helped make Jason feel comfortable and eliminated him. Again, Natalie played the most effectively, but I think she might have done more damage to her game by getting rid of Jason here, even though she's kind of like a Lex. She made the moves happen, and, you know, there's a little bit more gray area than there's with Lex here. So she made the moves happen, but I don't necessarily know if it was good.
So I know you cited, like, you know, she got Jason feeling comfortable for Cherie. But, I mean, if we're going to put a tally on the board for that, it's for Natalie because she whispered sweet nothings in his ear about, like, I sent you to exile for a reason. So she took a negative thing, something that I said was bad, and turned it into a positive in order to get done what she wanted.
You're right, but I just think she threw away something that could have helped her. And that's why I can't give her best. She was effective, but I think she did more damage to her game than good.
Sorry, Derek, I'm going to side with Ryan again on this one. You had me for a little bit, but then you brought up something from earlier in the episode that I had forgot about, and the fact that the only reason that Jason has an idol is because she sent him there in the first place.
It's fair.
How about worst player?
I had James. One, because he was a little bit bitter when he was talking with Parvati about the Aussie vote out. And as a returning player and someone with the most to lose, I wanted to see more from him in trying to organize a coup with Eric and Amanda and Jason. Jason's voted out, obviously can't give him worst. I'm not going to give it to Eric because he isn't really doing anything right now. You don't see him in this episode, okay. And I do think that staying in the Black Widow Brigade is in Amanda's best interest. So I expected more from James as a returner. Didn't see it, and he's next on the block. He got 3 votes. He was the scapegoat. So
I agree with you completely. It's James. He didn't do anything really to change his fate. He can no longer win the game as far as I'm concerned. Jason's gone. Can't win.
I don't want to say that he can't.
Least likely to win.
These jury votes already didn't go the way I thought they were going to. So, like, a guy who's as charismatic as James on the whole, I don't even know how to go about it.
He did annoy a lot of people.
He annoyed some people. I get it. I hesitate to say that a guy like James can't win, you know? Ever since Tom Westman, like the big guy, just, I'm scarred forever.
Good.
Classic. That was fun.
It only took 16 seasons, and Derek is scarred forever.
No, it was 10 seasons.
Yeah, 10 seasons to scar him. Episode 12, I'm going to fix her. Alexis seriously hurts her knee, and she can barely walk.
Another medevac.
Another
right?
one. Uh-huh. So that's important, because Alexis is going to go home in this episode, and she shouldn't have. But we'll get there. We get the Slam Book Challenge, another one.
The good old burn book.
Slam Book Coconut Chop, Loved Ones Reward. We're just throwing everything in one.
Heck yeah.
James's dad has a really funny quote where someone chops James down and he goes, "We're going to talk about that girl when the game is over."
Parvati is, with the Slam Book stuff, she's the one who talks too much, and she mistakenly believes she's in control of the game. Well, when she won, guys. So I think she wasn't mistaken, apparently. But everyone does a really good job of hiding the boot order. It's pretty much like, one at a time. Oh, everybody's down to 2. All right, now we'll keep going. So,
And they were kind of picking like petty reasons intra-challenge for chopping people. Like, you chop me, I'm going to chop you. So like, yeah, coconut chop, unsuccessful this time.
no one was giving anything away. Here was the order eliminate. Party was first out of the coconut chop. Then Eric, James, Sari, Natalie, Amanda. Alexis wins. And she doesn't... So normally I criticize people for winning this challenge. But she didn't really have a choice because somebody else got chopped and had to choose, do I give the game to Alexis or Amanda? Chops Amanda, Alexis wins. She didn't make the final move to win the game.
Yeah, Sari chopped Amanda to send Alexis to the winner's circle.
It's the best way to win the coconut chop.
Falls ass backwards into the wind.
Which is how coconut challenges in smart gameplay work. You just win by accident.
She takes Sari and Natalie on reward. Maybe bring Parvati over Natalie just because Natalie's in your corner no matter what. I get the loved ones visit, but that you got Natalie. Why not make sure you have Parvati?
I would agree with this. I think there was a more optimal move. I don't hate what she did. This isn't like Amanda in China levels bad for choosing someone to go on reward with her.
Yeah.
But this is not optimal.
Speaking of Amanda volunteers to go to Exile Island because she wants the idol. I love it. Doesn't matter anymore. Go get that idol plate for yourself.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And it really seemed like when she threw her hand up, Alexis was like, oh yeah, okay, you want to? Fine. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, you have to be a little careful here that it doesn't seem like, that's the reason that you're going because, you don't have trust in people or you're trying to be really selfish about it.
But we don't want to repeat what happened with Jason. So let's let somebody in the Alliance.
Sure.
I love how much this backfires on Alexis. Alexis sends Amanda to exile. Amanda's going to idol Alexis out.
You want $1 million mistake. Like, Jeff does not touch on this at the reunion show, but how about, Alexis, you send Amanda to Exile Island where she got the idol that she used to slit your throat. What? Wow. 2
Pretty
points
good.
for the reversal.
Amanda played a real Uno reverse card here.
Yeah.
James is pulled from the game due to the infection in his hand. It's actually pretty bad. He did go to physical therapy to get it treated. Mm-hmm. So James is out of the game, which is a real bummer.
I don't like medevacs at all. I hate when people get hurt.
I don't think anybody likes them.
Well, no, but...
Hot take, Derek.
Well, I mean, in retrospect, there's a couple that, maybe one that I'm okay with having happen.
Okay.
But,
you know what? That's fair.
But it's a bummer to see someone get this far. Granted, I think James was pretty close to going next anyway.
Dead man walking.
So it's almost like he got out of getting voted out, but it's still sad to see it happen.
So, okay, that's a bummer. I don't think Eric can win this game anymore. He's the next bottom person on my list. I don't think Eric can win against anybody. So that's a real bummer for Eric, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
That's just unfortunate.
Build better bonds and you won't be in his spot.
Yeah, be in a better position in case a medical evacuation happens.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes we just talk about who can win and who can't, and it's impossible for us to go in and consult Eric on this. How can we?
That's Survivor. Sometimes you have bad luck.
Yeah, if you're not good enough at building those social bonds, then I'm sorry, we're going to rate you as 5 or 6. You can't win.
Be more proactive would be the feedback. Do something, 2 votes ago or 3 votes ago.
Play better.
Yeah, I mean, and it would take so long for us to go back and try and find a path to victory for every single survivor, and an infinite number of factors.
Yep.
So,
yeah. It's almost like this game is a lot going on. It's very complex.
What? It's a complex social experiment. Maybe the best one on TV.
So Amanda learns that the idol is buried at their camp flag, which I love. So now you got to dig it up with people around watching. This is fun. I love this. Alexis is in a great deal of pain, and Parvati's like, hey, do you want us to vote you out because you're in so much pain?
How about don't do this?
Alexis shuts it down immediately, and Alexis and Natalie are there like, we kind of want to get Amanda out soon. And Parvati's like, I can't do that. That's all bad. Parvati, don't suggest that because that's suspicious. You're being real sus. And then saying you can't vote for somebody? Oh, red flag.
Big red flag. And maybe Alexis and Natalie should have done something with this information. This is kind of a knock on them as well, because both of them are going to vote for Parvati in the finals, partially because Parvati was loyal to them. But she wasn't! We're going to see this very soon.
I'm loyal to you, but I'm more loyal to Amanda.
So you're not loyal to me.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Like, I'm loyal to you until it's convenient for me. Which, by the way, Survivor, that's fine.
That's fine.
But you don't say that. Like, you think that. Those are brain thoughts. Not mouth words.
Real technical terms on this podcast.
Yeah, we're nothing but professional. Eric's going next, though. Except where he wins the shooting immunity challenge. Oh, no. It's all girls. All the time.
Uh-oh.
Eric's not going home. So they get back to camp. Amanda was like, guys, I don't have the idol, I swear. Dumps out bag. I was like, I swear I don't have it. You can search me. I don't have it. I love it.
Yeah, one step shy of, like, going nude.
Yep. Almost full JP.
Yes.
What a great move.
But then she takes Parvati aside, like, hey, the idol's hidden here. I'm going to go find it. Why would you tell Parvati that? And then they start arguing about who to take out, Alexis or Natalie. And Amanda would rather take out Alexis. Parvati would rather take out Natalie. Why on earth? Okay. I said earlier Alexis will beat anybody at the end. I stand by that. She has no enemies. Here's the thing. She can't walk. She has a busted up leg. She will do nothing in the challenge. You can get rid of her at any time. She is not a physical threat in any way, shape, or form. Get rid of Natalie. She's the second most likely person to win if you rank everybody in terms of how many enemies they have and whatnot. And she can move. The decision to knock Alexis out of the game boggles my mind, and I just feel like it was a complete personal vendetta.
I think it is a personal vendetta because I was fully on camp Amanda because, one, you've got the idol, so don't let Parvati bully you into doing Natalie. Honestly, I was going to knock Amanda's game if this ended up being Natalie going home because, like, okay, listen, it's your time to make a power move. It's your idol. You get to pick. Plus, Parvati left you out of a vote. If she wants to build back that goodwill, she needs to go with you. And you said it yourself. Alexis is this big social threat. You only have so much time in order to get rid of these big social threats. Yes, she's got a busted up knee. I understand that. But there are still idols floating around, and not everything requires you to stand in your challenges. It's not like we're ever going to see someone playing up an injury win a game eventually. So even if she's hamming it up, even if she's not, if you can take out a threat, You're at top 7 now.
They're both threats,
It's
though.
time. Take out the biggest one then.
No.
It's time.
No, it's not. You lose to both of them, period. You lose to both of them. One of them has a busted knee, one of them does not. Take out the one who doesn't have the busted knee. This is easy.
If the one with the busted knee makes it to the end, they can say, I made it to the end with a busted knee. More votes.
They're not going to make it to the end because they're not going to win immunity.
That is
99
famous last words.
99.9% chance they don't win immunity.
There hasn't been nearly enough seasons of Survivor to say 99.99% chance of anything.
Confident with a 99.9. I'm
confident.
confident.
I may have what you guys consider to be bad takes on this podcast. This is not one of them. If you can take out the number one social threat, you take out the number one social threat.
Those are the two options. You have the 1 and 2 biggest social threats on the board. One of them is the least physically threatening player like ever right now. Is this a motivational speaking immunity challenge? Okay, she's got a chance.
I have rocks in my brain.
She can't win
That's
anything.
a false
she
analogy.
Can't walk.
There's no motivational speaking immunity challenges, but there are challenges where you have to, I don't know, put a ball bearing on a log and stand there and hold it with your hands.
She cannot stand. She needed.
Yes, she can. She's standing just fine.
No, she needed help standing.
She needed help at the beginning, and you think that was going to stay that way? She walks into Final Tribal Council. She's fine.
At this point in the game, you get rid of Natalie. Easy. Yeah. Josh, what do you think?
I think this is actually a lot closer than Ryan leads on, just because the next immunity challenge is 2 days away, 3 days away. Someone's knee can get better to be able to, like Derek said, do something simple like standing in place and, have more of like a concentration type challenge or puzzle, or maybe it's memory or whatever it might be. It might have nothing to do with the physical aspect of the game. Plus, we're in the final 6 right now. We don't know if it's a final 2 or a final 3, so you might only be a couple of votes away from the finals. In the end, I am going to side with Ryan here, but I think it is very close, and I would not fault them. And actually, I'm not going to fault them for going for Alexis. You need to, like you said, you need to take both of them out, and I think there's just as good of a chance of Alexis having a shot at immunity. It's not 0. I think it's even she's only a little bit worse than Natalie to win a non-physical challenge. That I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with them targeting Natalie, but they made the best move, and I understand you're siding with Ryan, and that's fine. But Amanda made the right move.
It's just so late in the game to
wait to take out the head of the snake.
Yeah, you might say they're number 1 and number 2, but I think number 1 is a lot higher than number 2.
Sure, I think that's fair. I think more people like on the social level. Yeah, Alexis, Natalie, final 2. Alexis probably gets every vote except it being Amanda's. I think Alexis could win 7-1 against Natalie, and those again I have them at 1 and 2. I think Alexis blows everyone out of the water because everyone likes her except maybe Amanda. Social threat off the charts. Physical threat, 0.
It's never 0.
1. What's the lowest score that's non-zero?
Scout.
Yeah.
No, Chet.
Scout and Chet. Okay, so she's a step above Scout and Chet. And that's about it. Amanda tries to get Suri and Eric to come around to like, hey, vote with me instead of trying to knock me out of the game. But everyone's gunning for Amanda, and Suri's like, I would, but I don't want to force a tie because rocks. I ain't about that. Fair.
Yeah.
So Amanda's like, well, guess I gotta go find the idol. Cut to Tribal Council.
Yeah, they don't show it. Now, Ryan likes this.
I love this. Because we've only gotten like 3 of these in all of Survivor.
Maybe I can appreciate it as something that happens very scarcely. Like, the scarcity of it makes it more valuable. But I was like, come on. It's not like she's looking in the jungle for it. She knows exactly where it is. They said it's buried under the center of your flag. And then they show her digging under the center of her flag with plenty of time to go before Tribal Council. I'm like, did we really need to do this?
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Absolutely.
It's for the editors to say.
So James walks in. He's got an IV bag, which is alarming.
Yeah, he's got his drip bag, and everyone is just like, oh, shoot.
Glad he didn't get pulled for nothing.
Yeah. Amanda plays it really well. She seems super down. She attacks Eric for not having her back when she's had his in the past. Really plays up all the drama, and then pulls out the idol at the last second. And it's epic. 4 votes for Amanda, 2 votes for Alexis, but the idol gets played. Bye-bye, Alexis. It's epic. Like I said, I disagree. I think it should have been Natalie, but it's still epic. So, 2 people went home in this episode, so we're allowed to give out 2 best players and 2 worst. Derek, who did you have for best player?
For best player, I had Amanda. I think even if she sent home Ryan's 1B choice and my 1A choice, she volunteered to go to exile, obviously had a good enough read on the situation where, hey, I might need the cushion of this idol in case Eric wins immunity again, and then pulls off a successful idol blindside, and kind of gets Parvati to stick with her, even though that may not be in Parvati's best interest at this point. I don't hate Parvati for doing it, but ultimately best has got to go to Amanda.
I agree completely, plus with the fact that she dumped out her bag when she got back to camp. I love it.
That's a good choice.
Game-changing move right there.
Mm-hmm. I will say, at the time, I didn't note this, but maybe in hindsight, if we go to the finale, maybe she shouldn't have laid into Eric so hard, so needlessly. Like, you had the idol in your pocket, you knew where the votes were going. Just sit silently, give Jeff his political answers, play your idol, and then, you still got in good with Eric, and he doesn't feel like you're kind of yeeting him under this bus of looking like an idiot.
Could be.
But at the time, I did not note that. I just want to talk about it now.
Okay. Derek, did you have a second best player?
I did not have a second best player. I felt like Amanda was the only one that deserved it. It's hard because you can make an argument for Suri for just opening up and being honest with Amanda. I think that was able to build some goodwill that could work into the next episode, but ultimately nothing to rise to the occasion of another best player.
So I gave out a second one to Eric. He won immunity, saved himself, and his goal was to take out his biggest physical threat because he wants to win out. That's Amanda. Can't fault him for it. So, it failed, but, you got to take the shot sometimes.
And winning in, if you're going to give out 2, it's fine that it goes to Eric. I'd give it to Eric over Suri, so I don't hate it. I just didn't think there was enough.
Okay.
If you're going to give out 2, which it does feel a little weird since the second one is a medevac and not a vote out, but if you're going to get
consistent with that this whole time.
Yep, which is fine. If you're going to give out 2, then, yeah, Eric did enough positive stuff.
How about worst player?
I'm going to say Parvati, just because she ended up voting with Amanda kind of needlessly. For a while, I kicked around the idea of NA, and then I started really thinking about it, that this might put a bit of a wall between Parvati and Suri and Natalie, who are still remaining in the game. Build up some bad will, like, oh, clearly she's going to stick with Amanda to the end, kind of needlessly. So I ended up saying Parvati, but this is a game of inches, and I was very close to saying nobody, because if someone gets idol blindsided, there's not a lot that can be done for the right move.
Yeah, I gave one to Parvati, and then I went NA with my second option. She was super vocal about not being willing to vote out Amanda, which is just dumb. And asking Alexis, hey, do you want to be voted out? Oof. Parvati I have for worst.
And then a quick nod to the poetry of Alexis, again, giving Amanda the idol that she used to take her out.
Yeah, and I'm surprised Survivor didn't make more of a meal of that. They don't even address that.
Nope.
That's epic.
Too many other moves this season.
So James is going to play again. Do we want to see it?
James plays again?
Yep.
If I had to pick between Ozzy and James playing for a third time, I would pick James. I enjoy his personality a lot more. I don't think we're going to get anything new. In fact, I bet he says something about eating the apple in his third season because that has become a staple of James. If I had to pick someone to come back the third time, I would pick James over Ozzy.
This is where it starts to get tough. It's very similar to Ozzy, just because you know exactly what you're going to get at this point. So it's another one of those sures.
Yeah, we're not going to get anything new. It's going to be exactly the same. But you know what? I like it. James has been a joy in his first 2 appearances, so I'm fine with him coming back.
Plus, he got medevaced. So
plus he got medevaced. I think, gun to my head, who's going to be better for the game? I'm going to say Ozzy.
Sure, and I won't fight that. This is my personal preference.
Sure. And I personally prefer James, but if I'm trying to get the most like dynamic season I can get, I'd probably put Ozzy, and if I could only pick one, I'd pick Ozzy. But I like James as a character more, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
So guess what? I lost my winner pick again.
Rip.
As a kid, I switched to Eric. You could tell, okay, I was a middle school kid, you could tell I was biased towards the guys. I can definitely admit to my bias here. I wanted a guy to win, go boys, girls have cooties, that kind of thing.
I really like following Ryan's kid winner picks almost as much as I enjoy watching my idiotic picks. It's so on brand. Like, I can absolutely see Kid Ryan being like, oh yeah, Eric, it's gotta be.
Go guys, the one guy left standing. I would have picked Amanda if I could have made my choice today. After that epic idol play, I would have switched to Amanda. But, nope, I'm stuck with Eric. How's that going to go? Episode 13, if it smells like a rat, give it cheese. Eric and Natalie make an agreement to send each other to exile so one of the 2 fans can get the idol. Okay, make as many agreements as possible at this point in the game, especially if you're in a desperate situation. Sure.
I almost want to stop you early and say, like, but you got to be a little careful with that.
Got to be a little careful, because if you go back on your deal, you're going to piss some people off. Amanda pretends to form an alliance with Eric, so he will take her on reward, and she's like, yeah, you can send Parvati to exile, because then Parvati's got the idol. So, you know, people are trying to mess with Eric already.
And she really, like, lathers it up, like, listen, you know, if you take Natalie on reward and you don't or whatever, you're weakening yourself because you're playing a physical game right now and she's trying to weaken you. That doesn't make any sense. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't. It's a real like Tracy Joel moment, except we've got this parallel with Amanda and Eric just like 25 days later where she's like planting seeds in his head and they take root. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Black Widow Brigade is launching a 4-pronged attack on this poor guy. And yeah, they're all in cahoots together most of the time. And this poor guy, this whole episode is just like, oh, poor Eric.
No.
And I will say that some of what was going on was in fact infighting because Natalie knows that she's not in a great position. Like she's trying to look 1 vote ahead. She's like, yeah, Eric tonight or whatever, but I'm in trouble. There are 3 favorites left and everybody loves an underdog, which as a fan, kind of de facto me. So she actually wants this to go through. But unfortunately, they just end up ensnaring this poor guy.
Eric wins the Survivor Trivia Reward Challenge. He sends Parvati to exile, takes Amanda on reward.
Quick side note, by the way, Derek got every single one of these questions correct. I am on my way to super fandom.
All right, we love it. I think you should have sent Natalie to exile because fellow fan, probably the most likely person you could trust, or send yourself and try and get the idol. A couple of options, the other option, you go on reward and get strong for the challenges. Take your pick.
I think, honestly, and maybe a hot take, this is Eric's biggest mistake this episode. I am not afraid to say that, because at least if you have someone who's willing to work with you with an idol in their pocket, you can make something crazy happen. We can reference last night as Exhibit A.
Yep.
So I think this is Eric's biggest mistake this episode. Possible hot take for any casuals who might be listening.
Should have sent Natalie to exile, taken Suri on reward because this strengthens Suri, and she'd probably be physically the weakest person left. He brings Amanda with who's physically the strongest besides him. Not great.
Well, and also Suri has shown willingness to vote against Amanda, and by proxy also Parvati, because Parvati said that she won't vote against Amanda. So there are 2 prongs for taking Suri on reward.
Now, Parvati goes to exile and seemingly does not look for the idol. This is not true. Behind the scenes tidbits. Parvati did look for the idol, and she found the idol. She decided to leave it there because she knew she'd be searched on her way back to camp and didn't want to cause any drama. Now, as consultants, I cannot condone this. This was the last time anyone could play an idol. You take it home with you. You show everyone I can't be like, hey, this is the last time we could play it. I'm going to play it tonight. I can't go home. But everyone knows. If you want to not cause chaos, that's all you have to do. And just have that security blanket. So, I want to give Parvati the credit for finding the idol, but she didn't bring it with her.
Yeah, and we've also, I mean, I know we won't see it for a long, long time, but, showing your hardware that you don't use does not equate to a win, unfortunately.
Eric is caught telling Natalie, Cirie, and Amanda all different stories. Natalie even hears him eavesdropping about it.
Remember when we said make as many deals as you can with as many people as you can? Yeah, but if there are only 4 people left and they are all in an alliance together and you go to all of them and tell them all different things, whoa, my brain hurts just thinking about this. Like, when I say swing for the fences, maybe pick a direction and just, like, Babe Ruth it. Like, point that way, go that way. If it goes that way, great. If it doesn't, oh, well, you were already, like, dead man walking, as we already so eloquently put as James earlier. Don't be like, and point everywhere.
This is overkill.
Yeah, I mean, and at a certain point, you, like you said, you need to pick a direction, but you have everyone coming to you, just talking to you about all this stuff. Someone's at the bottom of this alliance. You might be able to get a group of, what do you need, like 3 people together in order to just make it to the end. That's possible to do. I don't understand why you wouldn't just charge forward with something and toss up a Hail Mary, basically. It might not work. They might all stick together. They might try to get immunity from you. Whatever. But I think he tried really hard in the worst way. Mm-hmm. And I think as a fan, maybe he was just overthinking it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But it's all going to be fine. Eric wins immunity, so we're all good.
On to the next episode.
Yeah. By the way, the puzzle said guaranteed Final 4.
Oh, no. Womp womp. All right, now comes arguably the most iconic moment in Survivor.
Because they will never let you forget it.
Never. Cirie comes up with this plan to make Eric give the immunity necklace to Natalie. And Natalie says, and I quote, "Who would fall for that?" I'll tell you who would fall for that. An ice cream scooper from Hell, Michigan named Eric Reichenbach. Dear Lord, here it comes. Parvati doesn't really have much to do with it, but Amanda, Cirie, and Natalie all come in. Oh my God, it's like painful. But it's so coordinated and organized. It's brilliant. Like, I can't do it justice talking about it. But basically the idea is, Cirie says, like, hey, here's the deal. I will vote for Amanda with you. I will join you guys, vote out Amanda. But only if you give up immunity to Natalie, Eric. So I know you're not betraying me and actually voting out Natalie. So you need to give that protection to Natalie so I know I can trust you. And then we'll vote out Amanda. You need to be able to prove your word. And Cirie and Natalie work him so hard. Eventually, Eric asks, like, hey, instead of Amanda, can we vote Parvati instead because of idols? I think Parvati's giving the idol to Amanda, so we'll vote for Parvati. And like, yeah, that's fine.
Prime example of him overthinking things. Why would Parvati give the idol to Amanda at Final 5? But, I digress. She also left the idol on exile, so...
And then part of the plan is Amanda is going to berate Eric even more, just, kind of make him mad and, make him more emotional and likely to give this up to get some vengeance. Tribal Council. Amanda and Parvati both lay into Eric for his lack of integrity, and they're like, yeah, you got no shot to win. And basically this whole time they're like, yeah, you have no shot to win. You really need to do something epic to make a name for yourself and build up your resume and win the game.
And Jeff is feeding into this, by the way, like, oh, Cirie, do you think it's important for people to redeem themselves in the game of Survivor even if it's late? And Cirie's like, absolutely, Jeff. It's never too late. It's never too late. Give them hope. You gotta give him hope.
It's almost too obvious.
This poor kid. Eric gives up immunity to Natalie.
And for the first time in Survivor history, they show everybody's vote at the voting urn. They turn up all of them and say, wow, I can't believe it. Wow. Eric. They didn't even hide it.
1 vote Parvati. Epic. Epic is underselling this. This is brilliant. One of the greatest moves, greatest takedowns in all of Survivor.
One of the greatest takedowns, yes.
It's insane how well coordinated this was and how well this is executed. It's just mind blowing. This holy crap. I'm like speechless about how epic this move is.
And especially since there's no reason for it to have happened.
Nope.
Eric, you could have accomplished basically the exact same thing without giving up immunity. To try to just get them to be on your side without giving up immunity. If it actually is in their best interest to go in this direction and vote off either Amanda or Parvati, they're going to do it. They don't need to earn your trust at the final 5. It's so late in the game for something like that to actually matter. But yeah, for them to actually, even like given that, on top of that they're able to actually execute this. Obviously, safe to say, one of the most memorable moments, not only of this season, but in all of Survivor history. So,
Safe to say.
It's pretty safe to say that this is one that's going to stick with you.
Yeah. For best player, I have Suri because she organized this entire plan and basically ran the takedown of Eric. This, everybody played their part more or less, but I think Suri did overall the most.
I went with Natalie because ultimately he gave his immunity to her, and she was the one going home. Mm-hmm. Like, if not for Eric giving up immunity, Natalie was on her way out. Now, Ryan, I want you to play a little game with me because I find that because you've read on this, and I'm not allowed to read on this. Like, I get what I get. I can't see anything else. As great as this move was, somebody in the Black Widow Brigade can now not win the game.
Yep.
Who is it? In your professional opinion, who can now not win the game?
Here's where I'm at. I cannot figure this one out because this is an interesting predicament, and it's really the only time we're going to get this. We have 8 people on the jury is what we're going to end up having. And final 2, tie. I think it would be a 4-4 tie between Suri and Amanda. And I don't know how the tie would be broken. So this is interesting. Normally I say the person at the bottom has no shot of winning. I don't think there is a person with no shot of winning because this jury is so weird, and we're going to get to that. I have some major questions about how this jury voted and real head scratchers. So the way I see it is a 4-4 tie between Suri and Amanda. Maybe Suri could win some people over at the Final Tribal Council. We've never seen her at the Final Tribal Council, so we don't know how she would do. Amanda, on the flip side, has done poorly at Final Tribal Councils. So I don't know who to give the edge to. I think I would give it to Amanda on paper, but I really think Suri could pull it off. So
this is entirely from, again, I'm not allowed to read. I'm not really allowed to understand what this social dynamic was with this cast at the time. You said your best player was Suri. Mm-hmm. I have my worst player as Suri. And I think that no matter if you slice it into a final 3 or a final 2, I think Suri loses this game based on this final 4 right here. So even though she organized it, it's kind of like her planning her own funeral, so to speak. Because I think that ultimately the jury, we're going to see Parvati win, right? Alexis and Natalie both give their votes to Parvati. I think between Amanda and Suri, Amanda can get one, if not both of them. Just in my opinion.
See, I thought Suri would get both of those personally,
and I don't see it. Amanda's also a weird case, and I realize this. So this is like in the moment, but I said worst has to be Suri because I feel like she's made her bed and she cannot win in a final 2 or final 3 because she needed to go with Natalie and Eric in order to have a shot at winning, and that's if she can hold on to the power for long enough to basically say like, yeah, I know that you might like Natalie, but she hasn't done enough in this game at this point. So I feel like Suri can't win. So even though it's a great, iconic, legendary, memorable move, it was a bad one. And it was Suri's idea.
So I did not give out a worst because I still think, at this point, I think all 4 of them can win. So I did not give out a worst. My best is Suri. But I could definitely see where you'd pick Natalie instead. I think it's between, for me, those 2 are like tied, and I ended up going with Suri. But I could definitely see being Natalie as the best of the episode. You gave best to Natalie, correct?
Yep.
Who did you give worst?
Suri. Because I think that she cannot win.
Okay, and I gave Suri as best. I did not give a worst. Josh, what do you think?
Thanks for making it not clear at all. But it's such a difficult situation because you don't know if the fans making to the end is a good thing or a bad thing because you have less competition from the favorites. Like if you're in Suri's position, are you just going to be able to destroy a fan that you go with? So I think that there's just way, way, way too many question marks here on how everything would lay out to give a worst. Because I would almost lean towards Natalie as being the worst.
She was going home otherwise.
Yes, but I think that the better move would be to group up with Eric and have Natalie, Suri, and Eric go into a final 3 together. I
would say Natalie did all she could do. Amanda's the one that fooled Eric into making idiotic choices on the reward challenge. So Natalie made that deal and was like, send me so I can get the idol. And then Eric just doesn't do that. So Natalie did all she could do, and she ended up saving herself. So in no world, in my opinion, can Natalie be the worst. I'm going to respect your opinion on this, but like if you were going home,
and that's mostly just because of the situation she is now in. Suri at least has a chance to beat. I think Suri has a chance to beat all 3 of the remaining people. I think Natalie also has a chance to beat all 3 of the remaining people, but she has the most difficult path to getting to Final Tribal.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm almost breaking tiebreakers here when we're saying that everyone still has a chance to win. I think that Natalie has the most difficult path to actually get to Final Tribal Council.
And I see that and I understand it, and I don't want to beleaguer the point too much, and that's why I'm not speaking with total conviction.
Yeah, same.
But whether we like it or not, this move, the person who was least likely to win the game just got voted out. All of this work was to take out the person who was not going to win.
Yes.
So by very definition, there is someone in this 4 who just lost the game.
Sure.
Now, I understand that based on what we see, you can go back and forth and it's too hard to determine who that is. For as legendary of a move as this is, it was not a particularly good one, in my opinion. And I will go on record and say that James's move in China to not play one of his 2 idols when he didn't have immunity was a bigger flub than Eric giving up immunity.
Sure.
And I honestly don't think that's that close because just like Jason, Eric needs to swing for the fences to even have a chance for the million. He needs to Chris Underwood it all the way to the end. For those of you who are unfortunate enough to get that reference, I don't hate Eric for giving up immunity here. And he gets way too much flack and he's been a great sport about it and I love it. I know exactly why he did what he did.
Yeah, no, there is definitely, like with Jason, there is an acorn of logic there. So, not a big acorn, a small acorn. There's logic to it. Is this the dumbest move in Survivor history? No, this is not. We've already seen dumber. I think Colby's decision to take Tina to the end of her Keith is a worse move.
Yes, that I would agree with that. That is $1 million mistake.
This is not necessarily a $1 million mistake. I don't think Eric was winning either way. So yeah, the one thing that Eric is a physical threat, and so I think this was a good move for like an Amanda. And Parvati takes that physical threat off the board and opens up immunity for other people.
I mean, that kind of de facto lands at it being worse for Suri than anyone else then.
If you look at it through that lens, yes.
But I know that that's not the angle that I attacked. So, don't give me credit for having that thought. I didn't have it.
Yeah, so I guess to get to the original question, I'm going to go with Suri as the tiebreaker. I would almost abstain, but I think I'm going to lean towards her just because I think that Natalie's in the worst position right now after it to try to get to Final Tribal. Who are you guys' worst?
None. Suri.
I'm going to go with Ryan and say none.
Though, Derek, I greatly respect your opinions on this round. Like, this is a very complex vote. And just because a move is epic and amazing and iconic doesn't necessarily automatically make it good.
Right.
I think it was good for some people. I think it was less good for other people. It's impressive work. It's kind of like the Jason vote earlier. Natalie did some impressive work, but I was like, you kind of threw a tool away. And that could definitely be the case here. This is impressive work. But
it's art.
It's art.
It is art.
It's art. It's art. Be proud of yourself so that you pulled this off. But this is better for some people than it is for other people, as with every move in Survivor. And this is such a particularly tricky jury and final grouping of people that I have a difficult time really figuring out the layout. So that's why I'm having a little bit of a hard time with like the best and worst here.
And I appreciate it.
Eric is going to play again.
Aww.
Do we want to see it?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Poor guy, like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, starstruck, 21, soon-to-be 22-year-old who's never been outside of his hometown, and he gets thrown into this game that is so social and so hard. And you know what? He makes it all the way to Final Five. He makes a lot of good moves, a lot of bad moves, but I bet he does not play the same game twice. So I absolutely want to see Eric again.
Yeah, same. He should have been in the Final Four with the possibility of winning immunity going to the Final Three. Who knows what would have actually happened if he would not have given up immunity here. So, yes, I would love to see him
Hands
again.
down, easy. Mm-hmm. He was great. Love Eric. Guess what? I lost my winner pick again. Past Ryan shifted.
There's no guys left.
No guys left. Gonna go get some cooties. Past Ryan shifted to Amanda. Present Ryan would have picked Suri at this point.
I love how the last 3 times you flip back to I would have done Suri. Oh, I would have done Amanda. Oh, I would have done Suri.
Tells you how great the Black would have been great is.
Yeah.
I had Parvati in there too. Yeah.
I think you mentioned that back when you switched to Ozzy, that modern Ryan would have switched to Parvati at that point.
There was one point I would have switched to Eliza. Finale, stir the pot. Amanda wins immunity at the Final Four. And we're going to go straight to Tribal Council because this is the nothing vote of the season, which is fine. And not every one of these votes needs to be spectacular. It's fine to have a nothing one. At Tribal Council, Cerie's like, hey, I feel like I've been on the bottom of every alliance I've been in. And this really gets into Amanda's craw a little bit. Amanda and not looking great at a Final Four Tribal Council. Name a more
iconic duo. I had the exact same thought. Because, by the way, even though my winner pick is Parvati, I was pulling for Amanda really hard right here. And honestly, I'm going to pull for her all the way through the reunion show, through the Final Tribal Council vote and everything.
Same.
But my goodness, you can't just like get to this point in the game and then just like toss your lunch. Like, come on.
And it's going to get worse for Amanda. This isn't that bad, but it's going to get worse. It's 3 votes for Natalie, 1 vote for Cerie. No surprise here. Natalie crushes all of these people if she gets to the end. It's got to be Natalie.
And I wouldn't say that she crushes all of them. I don't know how because again, this is a weird jury.
I think there's only 2 people on this jury who have a bone to pick with Natalie, and that's Jason, who's just a weirdo, and I don't know how much of a bone to pick he actually has, because I can't get a read on that guy, and Eric, and he's got a bone to pick with everybody. Natalie's the right move.
Yeah, Natalie is the right move for the most number of people. If you're a returner, cut the X factor out. You know, there's no underdog story here, because you might get a jury where they're like, you had your chance to win, you didn't, and now you let someone new get to the end. So you cut out the X factor.
Yep.
Josh, who is your best player of the Final Four?
I had Amanda for winning immunity.
Yep.
The 3 favorites that are still in the game are all tied for getting Natalie out. So tiebreaker goes to immunity.
I actually gave it to Parvati because I didn't like Cerie and Amanda's little scuffle at Tribal. So I can see why I would go to Amanda, but I felt like socially speaking, Parvati was like, I'm going to stay out of this one.
That's a fair point.
It's fair. I ended up going with Amanda.
It's fair.
Immunity is just way too big at this point for me to overlook it.
How about worst player?
Kind of going along those lines. I do say Cerie here just because of that argument, but that's more just because Amanda got immunity. So it's just weird.
I didn't give one.
I think you could very easily not give one out.
I'm not going to give one because the scuffle wasn't too bad. It was enough to knock them off best for me, but not enough to give a worst, because at worst they're tied then.
Sure.
And they all got the right person out, so
that's the important thing.
Yep.
Final 3. Definitely the Final Tribal Council. Amanda and Cerie get into a big argument about Cerie's comments about always feeling at the bottom of the alliance, but it doesn't matter. They patch things up real quickly.
Yeah, this goes much differently from Todd and Amanda 1 season ago. But again, name a more iconic duo than Amanda not having a great Final Four Tribal Council. How about having a meltdown at the camp immediately after the Final Four Tribal Council? Oh, how can she play a game that's different and similar and somehow end up in the same place with the same, almost exact same people?
Because she doesn't know she lost, technically. You know?
Yeah.
So
In China.
Right, yeah, she doesn't know.
Technically, she doesn't know. She might have a feeling. I don't know. Final 2. Surprise! We're going back to the old Final 2, everybody.
Which I love. I love that when they just switch this around. I would like them to notify them that that's what it's going to be. So, strategy is a big thing. Bringing the right people to the end is a big thing. Knowing if it's a 2 or a 3, I love switching back and forth, but have the contestants know ahead of time.
All right. So this isn't really relevant anymore, but if we're going through this in order, now we know they can switch back and forth between the 2 and 3. Here's what you need to do. You have to assume there's going to be a Final 3. You just have to do it, just so you have to have those 2 people you can beat, just in case there's a Final 3. It puts you in a tricky position if it's a surprise Final 2. You better hope you can win or you get some great social bonds, but you have to assume it's a 3.
Yes.
And, if it ends up being a Final 2, everyone will moan that you got screwed. It's not $1 million.
They'll bring you back for another season.
But you just have to assume it's a 3. There will be a little bit more switching in the future. But, this isn't really relevant anymore because we're locked hardcore into 3s now. I don't know. I don't think there will ever be another Final 2.
Not as long as there's a fire-making challenge at 4.
Yeah.
Fire making challenge at 3.
Oh my god.
Fire making challenge at 4 and then having a Final 2 would be hilarious. That
would be pretty good. I
would support that.
I'd support it.
If you're gonna keep the fire making challenge around, have a Final 2.
Hey, we have talked openly on this podcast. You need to give them a chance to get rid of your bends.
Yeah.
Because right now it's so skewed toward men, and I don't like it.
Idle hounds.
Yes, idle hounds and physical beasts starting at Final 6.
Oh no, you're good at hide and seek. Yeah, let's give you $1 million. Fallen comrades, everybody. Oh, and we're done. We're going to go to the final immunity challenge, which is the bane of my existence. This challenge is the challenge I would be the worst at. You have to balance a marble.
Mr. Shaky Hands over here.
Yep. You have to balance a marble on like a piece of wood.
And there's just a small sliver of like a crevice that the ball sits in.
I could not do this challenge. I would be a train wreck at this. Amanda's going to win.
Yeah, I just think about how they had to apply constant sideways pressure for 5 minutes at a time, and like even
Your
small
arms would
wiggle.
get so tired.
Oh my gosh.
Like, that would be the sneaky hard part about it. I have very shaky hands, so like I would have to get over that. But I think if I was pressing hard enough together, I'd get past that. Until me pressing together would cause my hands to shake more.
Yeah, and then you're 38 days in, and they haven't eaten for a while because they thought they were getting a final 3 feast. They let their chicken go.
Womp womp.
And honestly, I feel like this is a challenge that it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Tribal Council. Amanda gets to vote out either Parvati or Suri. Amanda cries at Tribal Council, and I think this is what loses Amanda the game.
And she did the exact same thing in China.
Yeah, but again, she doesn't know she lost.
I don't think that matters because she already went through the gauntlet of Final Tribal and people criticizing her for this exact stuff.
That's true. The problem is, this is, as far as I can tell, all genuine emotion from Amanda. She's not faking anything.
Right.
But
No,
it comes off as fake, and she just hasn't figured that out. And it really is too bad because she's just being who she is, and everyone thinks she's a liar and a fake. And that sucks.
And you have to find a way because I believe that it's genuine, and if you are that emotional of a person, just that's who you are. You're not going to be able to prevent this from happening. So you have to be ready to at least back it up with something or be able to cover up a little bit, have something prepared to make it seem more genuine than what it comes across as.
I think that if Amanda was better at articulating her game, she could have won not only Micronesia, she could have won China as well.
Yeah.
Because I agree. She cried when she saw James on a drip bag. Like, you see her cry all the time because she has these genuinely strong bonds with all of these people.
Here's the other thing. All right. Everyone kind of does believe she does feel bad about the Sri Parvati decision, right? She's crying about it. Well, why weren't they crying? Why wasn't she crying for me when she voted me out? Makes you kind of question everything you ever interacted with her about because, maybe she didn't have genuine feelings for me. That kind of thing.
Good point.
So it's you can't be that. You can have your emotional moments to connect with people, but at this point of the game, you can't. You have to be stone cold, Steve Austin, ruthless, cut their throat. You got to fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Amanda has that gear.
She did it with Alexis.
Well, she didn't like Alexis.
Well,
That is a big difference
I'm saying,
there.
like, what she did with Alexis is how she needed to be at Tribal Council all the time.
Yep. But I think she can't do it when she likes the person.
It's her biggest flaw.
It is. It's her flaw. So she's going to vote out Suri, which is the wrong move. Amanda loses the game. It's over. She could have beat Suri. I don't know if it's a slam dunk, but I think she could have beat Suri.
And this is tough just because I didn't watch every episode, but I think this was the right move because I think she can beat Parvati. I just think that she blows it.
Maybe.
I think she has just as good, if not slightly better, given the reactions that people have to Parvati at Final Tribal. Clues you in a little bit more on the social side. I think that she's completely right that Suri is would be a lot better at convincing people to vote for her than what it looked like from either of these two in Final Tribal. So I actually think that she has a better shot against Parvati.
I think that she has a better chance against Suri. I'm just going to go kind of along with what Ryan presented on that already. But how about from, let's do numbers for a second. We know that Amanda just came off of China and kept Todd, the, kind of dirty laundry player that she was aligned with. And she made it to the end with another player who did exactly that same thing named Parvati. How about you hedge your bets a little bit and you're like, you know what? I brought Todd last time. Let's not bring Todd, female version Parvati, this time around. Now, I know that is some like weird meta level thinking, but it's immediately what I thought. I'm like, okay, she doesn't know she won that one. You won at least $1 million, right? Hedge your bet a little bit. I do think that there are so many toss-ups on the jury that going with Suri, who played quite a bit different of a game and wasn't locked to her hip the entire time, she has a better chance at articulating why her game was better.
And Parvati has those pocket aces of Alexis and Natalie.
Exactly.
They're locked in.
Yes.
No one is really locked in for Suri, I don't think.
Right.
You know, Suri definitely ruffled some feathers along the way.
Absolutely.
So, it's a tough call. Maybe you should have tried the GOAT strategy instead, Amanda. There's a couple of those along the way that got cut, but, you know, what do you do? Josh, who did you have for best player?
I had Amanda here. Ultimately, even though it's an extremely tough decision, I think that she made the correct one. And, you know, she won immunity. So she took any other fate out of other people's hands and put it into her own. Whether or not she can handle that, I think that obviously all that stuff was a negative for her, but not enough to bring her just below neutral.
See, I had Parvati as best player because she convinced Amanda to take her to the end.
I had nobody because I didn't like the way that Parvati was speaking in absolutes back at camp when she was talking to Amanda. I think that actually might have pushed Amanda away from Parvati a little bit. And, I mean, ultimately she comes back and votes for Suri and stays true to her original alliance to Parvati. But just the way she was like, oh, Suri will understand. She gets it.
See, that
what has she even done this game?
Okay, so I didn't like where Parvati was like, it's not like Suri would have won anyway. That's not great. But, like, talking about, like, hey, yeah, it'll be so fun when you and I are here for breakfast tomorrow and we can help each other with our speeches. I like that from Parvati, just kind of reaffirming that bond. But, yeah, don't talk down Suri. That just makes her more appealing to take to the end.
And maybe I need to check my bias on that I know I would never be able to pull that off. Like, I would have to be like, listen, I understand you got to make the choice you got to make. Hopefully it's me. This is why I think it is me. But, you know, take a moment.
There's multiple ways to play.
Yes, absolutely.
I really like the way that Parvati went with the assumption route of like, hey, we made it. When you're that close with someone, I like that approach, but just stop there. Don't just keep piling on top of that. So I think that brought her down slightly a notch, but not enough for me to be able to actually assign her a worst of the episode. So I had no one for worst.
Okay, so I'm just to reiterate, your best was
Amanda.
My best was Parvati. Your best was none?
My best was none.
All right, and your
And
worst?
my worst was none.
My worst was Amanda.
My worst was also Amanda.
Okay.
Because I think she brought the wrong person.
Yep.
And that's where we just had to disagreement on that. So
Yep.
Okay.
And that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, this is chaos. Suri is going to play again. Do we want to see it?
Oh, yes, please.
Absolutely.
I think she's the one person that was on the season where I'm like, unquestionably, I want to see you play again. Because even though I criticized her, especially early in this game, for not being more fluid, she made it further this time.
Yep.
Technically, yeah.
And even though it was a little thing, just last episode, we didn't talk about it, Suri made fire in the dark with Flint in about 5 seconds. She lost on fire making in her first season, in case anyone has forgotten. That's character development. I love everything about Suri as a player and what she adds on a social level, and how she was able to surprisingly throw in like this physical game at the end and give Amanda a run for her money on this endurance challenge. I love Suri. Bring her back.
Yes, bring her back.
Yeah, I think out of all the returning players, I think that she had the largest improvement in her game, which is weird because she only improved her final like positioning by 1 spot. But I think looking at it from a well-roundedness aspect of it, I think that she improved the most because I don't think we got a whole lot of the strategy side. It seemed like she got carried very heavily by the social game her first time around, and I like that she actually made a few moves this time.
Sure.
Now the actual like physical side is still hardly there at all, but you know, no one's perfect.
Right. Josh, you lost your winner pick.
Yep.
All right, it's a tough call. You have 2 choices. Amanda or Parvati, who's your new winner pick?
Parvati. I usually remember who I would go with heading into Final Tribal, whether or not I just lost my winner pick or whatever it might be, but I remember going with Parvati. I really did not. Amanda, I had a really bad feeling with Amanda just because it seemed like it was the exact same thing as China. After what we saw from her in just this most recent Tribal, it really seems like she didn't learn from anything from the past season. Even if you can't really control how emotional you get, it's how you respond to that, and it doesn't seem like she learned how to respond in the correct way. So I wasn't actually a huge fan of Amanda after this most recent vote the first time that I watched, and I was actually pretty heavy on Parvati winning.
Okay. Final Tribal Council. Opening statements. Amanda says she was loyal and played hard. Parvati says she was aggressive and caught people before they could cut her. Point Parvati.
Yep.
Eliza says her vote's up in the air because Parvati was unnecessarily mean and Amanda seemed superficial. And
True and true.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so she's like, my vote's up in the air. Yeah. Jason wants to know if Amanda had known about the plan to vote Ozzy, would she have told him? And she says yes. He also wants to know what are Parvati's redeeming qualities. She says she is loyal and protective of her alliance. That second one's definitely true.
Kind of. Until it's convenient for her not to be.
Yeah, I guess both of those are like, until it's convenient for her not to be. But I don't get Jason. Because Jason's going to vote for Parvati, and I can't really figure out why. Same thing with Eliza. These two, I included them because I don't really get why they voted for Parvati.
I'm shocked by the Eliza vote.
Yeah.
Like, I get it from, like, if you really respect the person's game, but I feel like she was more just like, yeah, I guess, but also, like, it seemed like they were, like, the biggest enemies in this game. So that one blows my mind.
And it seemed personal.
The only thing I can chalk that up to is Eliza putting aside her feelings for Parvati and saying, hey, at least you were genuine tonight and you owned your game. And I don't think she got that from Amanda. Not because Amanda was being disingenuous, but because Eliza just didn't believe it, because she can't believe that someone could get to the end like Amanda did and be actually super torn up about it. Like, if it's tearing you up inside that much, how are you still doing it? Now, if Amanda could articulate that...
Yeah, maybe it's the thing where Eliza just can't understand that because she would never be that torn.
Right, because Eliza's kind of a robot. I mean, for better or for worse, you need that in Survivor to a certain extent. But I mean, robots also have no self-awareness, which Eliza also doesn't have. So I think that her and Amanda are almost perfect opposites in terms of their gameplay.
Sure. Alexis asks, why is Parvati a role model for young girls? And Parvati says, because she's independent and outspoken.
Good answer.
Good answer. I brought this up because it's going to come back to play later hilariously. Alexis lets Amanda know they were all laughing at her for her tears when voting for Suri, and wants to know if anything she did this entire game was genuine. And Amanda's like, everything at Tribal Council was. Those were real emotions. I feel bad for Amanda because I can tell she's being genuine, and nobody else seems to get that. I don't know.
And this is where, like, I think that she's doing the bare minimum here. It seems like she is just re-articulating the same point, and she did this a little bit as well in China, where, like, yes, reinforce that all this stuff is genuine, but take it an extra step on top of that to maybe even just explaining why you're reacting the way that you are. Anything extra can help other than just being like, no, that's all genuine, or just like, nope. Okay, yes, she had a lot of just like one sentence or one word answers.
Amanda wants her game to speak for itself when her game is not loud.
Yeah.
She needs to be able to, like you said, say, listen, I understand that I'm an emotional person, but I was able to set those emotions aside for long enough to get the job done. And whether you like that or not, I can't tell you what to like, but why don't you look at what I have actually accomplished in this game and then lay those things out and make it personalized to each person. So for Alexis, you wanted me out. I was in your alliance. I had no problem playing that idol and idling you out of the game. I knew I couldn't trust you as soon as you were trying to move in on my alliance with Ozzy. Like, you can, leave the relationship out of it. Just, you were a threat. I made you gone. I got Parvati to vote with me. You think she wanted to vote you out? She didn't. That was me. Because if Alexis is going to be like, who's playing a better game, maybe she'll respect that. Otherwise, she's going to vote for Parvati anyway.
Yeah, basically, Amanda just needs the aggressive edge in her final Tribal Council speech.
It is fitting that Parvati said that she's the assertive one, and then Amanda is not assertive in her final Tribal Council.
Yep. Natalie's going to come up and hit on Parvati.
And Jeff looks confused.
As he should be.
James says, I'm confused. As you should be. Because what is this?
This has absolutely nothing to do with the game.
I think Natalie, and I could be wrong, but I think Natalie is just straight up trying to figure out if Parvati just flirts with women to get what she wants, because Parvati owns up to flirting with men and women, or if Parvati is legitimately is bi, because Natalie is bi confirmed. So I think Natalie might be just trying to figure out if Parvati wants to hook up after the show or something like that.
I mean, I'm not opining on any sexuality, but that was a very weird question.
It was the most awkward final Tribal Council moment of all time.
And we had Big Tom.
Yep. And then she goes after Amanda for, like, acting dumb. I don't know. I thought Amanda defended herself fairly well against Natalie, though.
Yes, could it have been better? Yeah, but she was assertive.
Yeah. Eric comes up and is very hurt by Amanda. And Amanda explains, like, yeah, I mean, I went after you because you tried to vote me out. I was pissed. Fair? Then Amanda apologizes for hurting his feelings, and he's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm too late for that.
It wasn't.
He actually said, you already apologized once, so like I don't need to hear that again. And this is where I was confused by his vote as well, because he seemed to be like done with her and wasn't satisfied with her answer, but he votes for her.
Maybe he's the kind of guy who can't stay mad for more than a minute at a time.
That seems exactly up his alley. So,
and I believe that he actually had a very strong friendship bond with Amanda more than Parvati.
Yeah.
So he probably gave it to his friend.
Well, they were on the Malakal tribe for so long together.
Exactly.
So James wants Parvati to reenact the conversation they had right after Ozzy got voted out. And the first time, she's like, hey, gotcha, sucker. And he's like, okay, but for real. And basically she says, like, I couldn't have beaten you or Ozzy, so I made a move. It's a great answer from Parvati.
And this still does not placate James. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier in the podcast. I feel like if it wasn't exactly what he wanted to hear, it was going to be wrong. And I still don't know what he wanted to hear. I think he wanted her to say, like, it was a dumb move. I should never have done it.
Yeah.
That it was a bad move because it's all about eating that apple. So maybe it should have been like, I ate the apple. I'm sorry, James. Maybe that's what he wanted to hear. I have no idea.
Or better, I ate the apple and I'm not sorry.
I ate the apple and it tasted good.
Boom.
Because he ended up voting for Parvati, right?
No, he voted for Amanda.
Okay, that makes more sense because I thought he did vote for Parvati, but he led his question with, I think we all know what's going on here. Amanda has it in the bag, so Parvati, and then he went on to his question. So that's where I was a little bit confused on my side.
Eric, Ozzy, and James vote for Amanda.
Gotcha.
Everybody else votes Parvati. Sri wants her ego stroked, so we're going to move on because I hate her question. Ozzy.
But I think that it is important to note that nobody answered it great.
Sure.
If someone wants their ego stroked, stroke away.
Stroke the ego.
Play into it. You can't help what the jury questions are. You just have to get into it.
Stroke the ego. Put the other person down. You get it.
We've talked about this at enough previous final tribal councils.
I want to consult on anybody who ends up making the jury. Don't do this. Don't ask questions. Get your ego stroked. No one cares besides you.
Try and ask a thoughtful question that helps you understand somebody's game better.
Yeah, Sari's like, why do I deserve to be up there more than you, Parvati? You don't. Ozzy comes up and tears Parvati apart in an epic fashion. Though I do want to say, it's really easy for like Ozzy and James to be like, we had this in the bag. We all stuck together. We make it to the end. Yeah, it's easy to say if you're the winning person out of that group.
Yeah.
So, Ozzy can get off his high horse a little bit. As entertaining as he was in this jury speech, this is the whole kind of thing about honor. Honor is made up by the strong to keep the weak in line. It's a bunch of BS. I don't buy into it at all. So Ozzy can die mad about it.
Yeah, and we have to remember that Ozzy made it to the final tribal council before on his honor because he found himself with someone like Yule who was like, yeah, I'll go with your honor strategy because I can beat you.
Yeah. Yep.
Just because no one on this particular cast could beat Ozzy in the honor game, like, okay, cool. It was not convenient to keep you.
But he tears Parvati apart and then professes his love to Amanda.
It's just like, whoa, complete 180.
It's awesome. It really is just fantastic.
I love this moment.
It's not Billy levels of hilarious, but I mean, as far as confessing your love on Survivor goes, this was pretty funny.
And they ended up dating for like a year and a half, 2 years after this. So.
Which is good. Not everyone who falls in love needs to get married and have 8 kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So it ends up being 5 votes for Parvati, 3 votes for Amanda. I don't know why Eliza or Jason voted for Parvati. Still don't know. Did the right person win the game? My answer is no, for the record.
I feel like I do this every season now because this has become so complex. I mean, how do you tell a juror what they should vote for and how they should weigh things? I think that if the jury had watched the season like we did and they weren't there, they would have voted for Amanda. I would have voted for Amanda. I would have happily voted for Amanda. So, did the right person win? I can't refute the results. I can't.
All right, so maybe we should rephrase the question as like, who would you have voted?
Yes, I would have voted for Amanda. I would have expected Eliza. If I'm on the jury, I would have expected Eliza and Jason to also have voted for Amanda. I'm not really sure why that didn't happen. So ultimately, I would have been very confused with the result.
I would have voted for Parvati. Same reason as why I picked her as a winner pick. I was annoyed with Amanda at this point. And it's a little bit of recency just based on like getting off of China and seeing nothing change in her, like the final steps of her game. I would have liked to see her learn a little bit more based on the previous season. I don't think it matters whether or not you know the results. But looking at just this season, I think that you played a very similar game to Parvati. It's hard to talk about the social side of it for how much stuff is off screen. But even just like the last couple of days and being able to own your game and to be able to articulate that, yeah, it's hard to boil it down just to being able to communicate that to people. But if you're arguing your point and you don't do a great job at it, it's really tough because I think they're super close. But I would have leaned towards Parvati.
I think Amanda played the better physical game and the better strategic game, whereas Parvati, I'll give the better social game. So based on that metric, I would have voted for Amanda. Yeah, this is, for me, the only real mark against the season is kind of the finale. I think the Final Four is kind of a bust because, who cares? I mean, it's obvious Natalie's going. And then I always kind of bugged me that Parvati won because I thought Amanda was more deserving. Parvati's definitely better on this rewatch, but I still lean Amanda. So that's the one blemish for this season for me. I think Amanda should have won. But what do you do?
Yeah.
Good news is they both play again.
Parvati, I think easy. I think that if you've won, I'm kind of in Ryan's camp where I want to see you again. There are a select few exceptions. Ryan makes no exceptions. I do have a couple. This is not one of them. I would love to see Parvati come back anytime. Amanda, I'm going to say yes because I love Amanda's game. I really hope that she can go back and watch where she went wrong because she has not had a chance to watch herself in Final Tribal Council one time. Hate the way she closes, love the way she plays the game up until she closes. She is effective. This girl knows how to play Survivor, and I want to see her back because she's one of my favorite players. Despite the fact that she cannot articulate her Final Tribal Council, give her, let her go back and check the tape one time, and I bet that we could see this cured. So I want to see Amanda. She's one of my favorite players, and I will officially say I believe that she was robbed this time. Maybe less so with Todd and China, but definitely now. I would have voted for both times. I love Amanda. Bring her back.
Yeah, I'm good with both of them coming back. More Parvati than Amanda just because I think now you are exposed as a threat. So I would love to see how she responded or will respond to that. Amanda, I'm teetering on seeing like all we can from her just because, like you said, she got to the finals back-to-back seasons. The reason why I'd like to see her back is just so that we can see if she would do anything different now that she would have a little bit more space in between her seasons. Doing the exact same thing back-to-back seasons basically to end it, it doesn't give me a lot of optimism, but I'd like to see if she does learn at all from it.
Yeah, I think based on, she hasn't seen herself play from the perspective of TV. Give her that opportunity, and we might get something new from her.
Yep.
Bring them both back. Absolutely. They're great. Reunion show. Jeff asks Ozzy about, what's going on with Amanda, and Ozzy instead makes a reference to Lunch Lady Denise and Custodian Denise.
Oh, my goodness.
Amazing.
So great.
I'm not a waiter anymore. I scrub toilets.
I was too popular.
Mary, who? Got 19th place. She's now currently engaged to Ryan O from Survivor Pearl Islands, who proposed 3 days after their first date.
You guys remember Rhino?
I like Rhino, but
I do too.
Oh yeah, I loved Rhino.
They're not going to make it down the aisle. Fan favorite award is going to go to James again.
I get it.
It's fair.
All right, and that's about it for the reunion show. Season wrap up. Who is the best and worst player of the season? We can only give these awards to the people who made the merge. We have 10 people to choose from. Who did you guys give best player of the season to?
I'm going to give it to Sari. And that's ultimately because I think that Amanda made the wrong choice, and that's not on Sari. I think she did everything that she could have, given her position going in. Even though I still believe that Amanda maybe played a better game, I think that Sari was the one driving home a lot of the moves. Played from the bottom, played from the top, played from the middle, didn't seemingly make anybody too angry.
Besides Penner.
Besides Penner, pre-merge, doesn't matter. So she did everything right, didn't make it to the end. I mean, I guess you could say that she failed in the final immunity challenge. I guess that'd have been the one blemish. But I really think that overall, Sari played a very admirable game and fell one rung short.
I also had Sari, and I was hoping that would be a little bit more shocking just because, she got third place. But I think in the final, out of the final four, personally, I thought that she had a chance to beat everyone. Natalie is always going to be a question mark just because you don't know how people would vote for the fans. So even if you want to look at the final three, I think she would have beaten any of them. I think that Amanda made the right choice. She just blew it at the end. And especially since we've seen her before, I can fault her for not correcting some of her past mistakes.
And for the record, I would have given it to Amanda if not for her final tribal council performance.
And then Parvati just had a lot of faults to her game, going all the way back to the showmance at the beginning. I know that we did talk about some things that Suri didn't do great in the pre-merge, but I don't think that it was anything worse than both Amanda and Parvati doing showmances in the pre-merge.
Yes.
So all three have negatives for that.
All of that is kind of a wash.
But yeah, I'm going to go with Suri here.
It's unanimous. Suri, best player of the season is Suri. Not really shocked. How about worst player of the season?
I went with Eric. And it's not just because I feel like it's not for that move. It really isn't. It's because he played the whole entire game as a tool.
That's Jason.
As naivety. I mean, he was naivety walking, naivety personified. He was starstruck the entire time. And yeah, he did work that to his advantage at moments, but ultimately he was left out of the vote more than almost anybody, and they were keeping him around long enough to keep making wrong votes. And on top of all of that, he does make the most infamous move in Survivor history. But the fact that he never seemed to be able to get a grasp socially, and when he finally had an opportunity to make something happen, he got caught in a web of Black Widow lies. So I feel like he kind of went wrong at every turn. Not entirely his fault because he was going against experienced players. He's not a zero physically, and he seems like a nice enough guy, but I saw too many mistakes from him. If Jason had made it to as far as Eric did, I may have considered giving it to Jason instead, but I got to see Eric make way more mistakes. So I said Eric.
I'm going to go with Jason, just because I think that he's very similar in that way. If you want to talk about someone being naive.
Or a tool.
Or a tool. Jason being naive that a stick is an idol. That's as naive as you can get. So I think that if you're looking at it from that angle, it's him. Also, he just made bad moves with, like we talked about, stepping down for immunity, aligning himself very firmly with Eliza right after the merge. I would love to give it to Eliza, but I'm just going to give her a dishonorable mention instead. At least there was some logic that Eric used along the way, and I don't think we really got anything from Jason redeeming.
So the reason I did not pick Jason, and you mentioned it as a negative, he stepped off that platform and he did not get voted out. He started swinging for the fences early and often, knowing that he was in a bad position, and at least he was self-aware enough in those confessionals to where you knew...
So did Eric. Eric swung for the fences because he knew that he had no other choice?
Yeah, he waited until Final 5 to do so. I think that it might have been too late regardless, but I'm happy that he swung for the fences. Don't get me wrong. Jason had one bold move that worked, and even if it was because they were using him as a tool to get out Ozzy, he still made a bold move that happened to work. That is one tally in his. I don't have a single tally for Eric, other than the fact that he happened to win a couple of immunities.
Aligned himself with Ozzy.
Eric's tally goes back to the Amy vote, where he repeatedly threw Amy under the bus to survive that vote.
That's fair. If we're digging back into the pre-merge, I am focusing more on the post-merge for my grading.
I take the entire...
The question is player of the season. So we have to take everything into account. But you're both wrong. Worst player of the season is Ozzy. Eric and Jason are brand spanking new, fresh face, a little bit more forgivable their sins. Ozzy is an experienced player. He should know better to be this cocky, this arrogant. He should not have made the merge. The fact that he did is a miracle, and the chat is the only reason he's here. Gets to the merge, still is cocky and arrogant, and all this stuff, and he gets taken out with an idol in his pocket. He did so much wrong. It's actually incredible. Ozzy is my worst player of the season.
That's fair.
I think I can't really argue against it. I think
I'll just change because Ozzy went into a showman's fool. So I'll change. You convinced me. I'm going to stay consistent with the fact that I was defending Eric and all of the things that he did, whereas Ozzy was pretty indefensible for a lot of it. Yeah, I'll switch. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate you giving me perspective.
You're welcome.
That's the super fan effect.
Jeff Wash, anything new you noticed, Eric?
Jeff was very harsh at times. I'm remembering back to that challenge where Natalie stepped off of the Nickelodeon bucket tip too early and was just like, you can pout and moan all you want.
That was Alexis.
I meant to say Alexis. Which is like, you can pout and moan all you want, you still don't get anything. Jeff was looking for reasons to get mad, and I enjoyed that, but this is not something that's particularly new for Jeff. I do think that, for the most part, he enjoyed being back with some of the favorites. You can tell at the reunion show that he wants Penner to talk as much as he can, and you can tell that he really doesn't like Johnny Fairplay.
Oh, yeah.
So, I guess if you want to count that as Jeff Watch.
How about a weather report?
It feels like it was way worse in the pre-merge, and it kind of opened up a little bit in the post-merge, and definitely not as much rain. I think Suri got sent to exile one time where there was a storm. They spent a little bit of time on it. She said it was miserable. I do think this was a rainy season in general, but I'm not going to say that it's near the top for worst of rainy seasons. But if we're just looking at rain weather issues, it seemed like there was enough food, enough coconuts, enough fish, enough nutrients to where we're not talking about being starving. And I think they had well water again, and they had no trouble with fire for the most part. So I would say middle of the road season, maybe on the harder end for rain, but I think they had caves at all their camps. So overall, not a bad season to end up on.
Josh,
What's up?
you are a memorability consultant.
That I am.
For the pre-merge, your most memorable moment was my ass.
Yes, it was.
Now, I don't know if there's anything that can possibly surpass that in the post-merge, but that's your call.
Well, let me run through them for just a little bit. Many times in previous seasons, you have like one shining moment, basically, or maybe like 2 or 3 that you can really narrow it down to. We have a buffet of options that we can choose from here. Completely ignoring the pre-merge.
We have a Micronesian buffet.
Yes.
Bat soup, coconut.
So we have It's an Effing Stick right away in the merge episode. We have Ozzy's Idol. We have Jason's Idol. Both not getting played, is it being that moment. We have one that really stuck out to me that I remembered was Parvati's Black Widow Brigade confessional, where she's really talking it up. We have the infamous Eric giving up immunity, of course. And then one that sticks out to me, I don't know if it will to everyone else, but Ozzy's love confession at the end. So, how can I pick between those options?
I want to throw out this is not going to win, but an honorable mention.
Sure.
One that sticks in my head a lot is the way Amanda got up to play her idol.
And she swung it?
It's the sexiest idol play there's ever been. And she just stands up, she's like, but I got it, swinging it around. It's like, I can see why Ozzy loves you.
She's an aspiring designer, and she looked like she was walking the catwalk up to that podium.
It was awesome. So that one sticks in my head.
I can see that. Like, I wouldn't have ever picked it, but I can understand.
Ultimately, how can you not? You're giving it to the thing that is just drilled into your brain for seasons to come. It's Eric giving up immunity, and the 2 frames that that immediately come to mind are him taking it off and giving it to Natalie, and then James's reaction on the jury, him losing it because at this moment he knows that everyone forgot about him.
His reign is over.
Double idols. Yes, he might be able to have an argument that his move was actually worse in the end, but no one is actually gonna see it that way going forward. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is, considering all of the possible nominations, this is still the greatest slam dunk there's ever been.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's
It
insane.
is insane how stacked this season is of memorable moments. We've had stuff in the past where it's memorable characters and people that are on the show. This is easily the most stacked that I've had for memorable moments. And at the same time, it's not even close.
And I usually try to disclose this stuff at the beginning of an episode because, like I tell everyone, this is the first time I've watched the season. I don't know the results. I knew this happened. I mean, Ryan and Josh did very well with not confirming that happened this time around.
And you didn't know everyone who was involved.
And I did not know everyone that was in the Black Widow Brigade. But I knew that moment was coming this season. That was the only thing I knew about, the only thing I thought I knew going into the post-merge. So that was a lot of fun to have that hole filled in for me.
Yeah, did you really not suspect Parvati was going to win?
I really didn't.
Oh, wow.
I really didn't. Full disclosure, and this actually kind of frees up another season for me. I was under a false pretense that Parvati won Heroes versus Villains. Oh. So now I have no idea who wins that. So that's just really interesting for me. I have no idea.
Okay, last thing we have to do is our season rankings. I'll go first. In order, from best to worst. 16 seasons to right now. I got Palau, Pearl Islands, Vanuatu, and coming in 4th place is Micronesia. To continue down, China, Borneo, the Amazon, Fiji, Guatemala, Panama, Africa, the Australian Outback, Marquesas, Cook Islands, All-Stars, and Thailand.
Yeah, I'll go next. So my rankings so far are China, Pearl Islands, and then I'm going to toss fans versus favorites here in at number 3. It really is in that top tier. China and Pearl Islands, I feel like, are going to be very difficult to beat. But I see the season as being right alongside Palau Amazon and Vanuatu for me, which are the next in line. And then following that are Borneo, Australia, Guatemala, Fiji, Panama, Africa, Cook Islands, Marquesas, All-Stars, and Thailand.
All right. Well, I feel like I'm being a bit basic right now, but I actually have this one coming in at number 1
All right.
for me. Survivor Season 16, Micronesia fans versus favorites, coming in above Survivor China. In selecting this, because I debated this for a long time, China had that one moment between James and Jean Robert that was a little bit objectifying of women, and I didn't really appreciate it. Now, granted, it didn't stain that season enough for me to, not rank it my number 1 at the time. But this season doesn't have anything like that. It has a lot of, bad gameplay and a lot of questionable decisions, but for the most part, everything is pretty amicable. On entertainment, we already discussed how it is a Micronesian buffet of great moments. I feel like we got a Survivor Greatest Hits CD, but it was actually its own standalone season. Survivor China is a great album, but Survivor Micronesia is a greatest hits. Game of Inches, I'm going with perhaps basic answer with Season 16. If I'm going right down my list, then we've got Survivor China, and then Palau, Pearl Islands, Amazon, Vanuatu, Guatemala, Australia, Fiji, Exile Island, Borneo, Africa, Cook Islands, All-Stars, and then bottom tier of Marquesas and Thailand.
All right. Yeah, that's a cold take, but it's fine. There's a reason it's a cold take.
It's very basic of me, and I realize it. I try not to be super basic all the time, but I really I couldn't put it anywhere else.
No shame in that. All right, well, that wraps up Survivor Micronesia. We're going to be moving on to Season 17, Survivor Gabon. Derek, of 2 people, you've never seen anyone play. They're just 2 people you are familiar with.
Weird.
Yep.
All right, cool.
But you have never seen any of these people play before.
And full disclosure, I don't think I know anything about this season. I don't think this winner was on 40, and like you already said, I don't know anything. So, you just said that the 2 people I'm aware of, I haven't seen.
When they pop up on the screen, you'll probably be able to figure out who they are. I'm sure pretty quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, no, this is exciting because I know you know almost nothing about this season, and that's always fun for me.
Those are the most fun for me, and especially even with this season, I thought I had an idea of who won or who didn't win, and I was wrong. So it's like a new season of Survivor.
Yeah. So Gabon will be fun. It's certainly a season of Survivor.
Yes, it is.
Oh boy.
It's something else, man. Cool. So you can follow us on Twitter at Castaway Pod. Give us any 5-star reviews on your podcatcher of choice, and leave a little note, and we'll read it on the podcast.
And don't forget to tell a friend.
Please tell a friend. Pretty please.
We're lonely.
We're so lonely. If everyone tells a friend and they all tell their friends, eventually everyone in the world will listen to this podcast. And isn't that the goal?
That's the goal.
Guys, anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Let's get into Gabon.
All right. This has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.